Well, hello and welcome or welcome back to my channel. So I have been on a roll this year. Every month of this year, I have done a reading wrap up, like a monthly wrap up of everything I read in the previous month. And I've not missed a month. And so it kind of seems like, looking at my channel, I have missed June and also July, but that is not true. I'm a little late because I had to write out this script and then I'm gonna have to edit it. But I read a duology in June, and I figured in order to do a monthly wrap up, I would have to talk about it's not a duology. It's not a duology. It's going to be a trilogy. So far, there's only 2 books out on the series. But because I read 2 books in a series, I was just like, I'm gonna have to talk about the books, and I may as well just talk about the series. And so what I'm talking about today is the Lightlark series by Alex Aster. Lightlark, the first book, it came out August 2022, and there was controversy, drama. There's several videos on that and breaking it down, probably on TikTok, definitely on YouTube. I'm not going to break down the drama that happened, but I will give you a summation. Lightlark is the first book in the Lightlark saga. It is a YA fantasy novel primarily set on the island of Lightlark. According to the synopsis and what was being promoted by Alex Aster on her TikTok was that Lightlark is an island that appears every 100 years to host something called the Centennial, which is a deadly game that only the rulers of 6 realms are invited to play. Every 100 years, the island of Lightlark appears to host the Centennial, a deadly game that only the rulers of 6 realms are invited to play. The invitation is a summons, a call to embrace victory and ruin, baubles and blood. Baubles, like jewelry? Okay, the Centennial offers the 6 rulers one final chance to break the curses that have plagued their realms for centuries. Each realm's curse is uniquely wicked. To destroy the curses, one ruler must die. So already there's a discrepancy in the synopsis. I mean, it kind of depends on how you interpret it. The verbiage, the wording makes it sound like Lightlark is an island that appears, literally just shows up every 100 years. But really what happens is it's covered by like a storm, and every 100 years the storm dissipates, or like it doesn't dissipate, it moves, and it moves off the island, and so people are able to access it. And people do live on the island of Lightlark. So Lightlark is always there, it's always existing, it's just being blocked by a storm. So that is part of people's problems with the book that I've heard, or that I did hear. There were some expectations, promises that were made that were not, according to some people, followed through. I guess I wasn't on TikTok, or I wasn't following the drama when it happened. There were like lines promised to be in the book that weren't there. I guess some people just felt like it was a little bit of false advertising. There was also kind of some controversy surrounding how Alex Aster, the author, was presenting herself. Alex Aster made it seem like she was a new author and like an up-and-coming author who was just waiting for her big break, and she finally got it. She has already published a duology prior to Lightlark, and also she comes from a well-off family, and there's other videos talking about it, but there's people who have implied that she might have connections. So I think that these are hardly things to really truly punish her for or be mad at her for, but it did just rub people the wrong way, and so it created a lot of drama on social media. So, and there was a whole mess on Goodreads of the book supposedly getting review bombed. However you feel about an author, unless they're truly like an awful evil person, review bombing is, I think, an unfair thing to do, especially to an unreleased book. However, once a book is published, people are free to have their opinions, and that's also a whole other topic for like another video, because it seems like a lot of people don't want you to be critical of books, and literary criticism is like a profession, and it's existed for a really long time. So like people are allowed to have opinions on books if they didn't like them. As somebody who has written a book, whether it'll get published or not, I don't know, but as somebody who has written a book, it is hard, and I do appreciate people's effort, but you know, even if people work really hard on something, it doesn't mean that it can't be given criticism. It's hard to hear criticism for something that you worked really hard on and something that you love, but everybody's not gonna love something that has been created, and that's okay. Buckle up, buttercup, because we are diving in. Yeah, but so we're gonna just talk about Lightlark. Isla Crown is the protagonist. It's not Isla, it is Isla. It's gonna be hard. Isla Crown is a bit of a wild girl, and she's always escaping her room, which is like basically in this like refurbished greenhouse. And as far as I can tell, she's like in this greenhouse, her room, like all the time. I mean, her handlers think she's in there all the time. However, she has a star stick. Don't ask me what it looks like because I don't know. It's never described what it looks like, but she has a star stick, and I'm imagining a lot of things. She uses this star stick to teleport her to other places. She basically like draws a puddle of stars and then like jumps through it, I guess, and then like gets transported through space and time. I don't know. And she got this star stick from searching her mother's things. Isla has two handlers, and their names are Poppy and Tara. So Isla is not supposed to be Isla. Oh my god. This star stick is Isla's own personal secret. I do think it's interesting now in hindsight that I think about it. According to what happens, I'm surprised nobody found the star stick. It's just vaguely mentioned that she found it going through her mother's things. Nobody found it and tried to like hide it from her or whatever. Interesting. Isla, oh my god. She uses the star stick and then gets herself into like sticky situations, and she sometimes, I guess, will come back looking a little worse for the wear. Her handlers should be wondering, is she supposed to be stuck in her room? How is she getting like all messy and stuff? But when the story opens, Isla is coming back from one of her little journeys through with the star stick. She is very obviously supposed to be going somewhere and getting ready for something, and so she looks a mess, and her handlers Tara and Poppy are not happy about that. But her being a little wild is very fitting because she herself is a wildling of the wildling realm. What is a wildling, you may ask? You probably want to know. I'm sure you're dying to know. In this book, as you would have in Harry Potter, The Hunger Games, Divergent, or A Court of Thorns and Roses, there are categories for the characters. So Harry Potter, you have the houses. The Hunger Games, you have the districts. Divergent, you have the I don't know because I never read the book or watched the movies. And then A Court of Thorns and Roses, you have day, night, the courts. Autumn, winter, summer. Each group has their own characteristics of like how people might look. Maybe they have certain powers. It's a similar thing. In Lightlark, we have wildlings, skylings, moonlings, starlings, sunglings. And so as you can see, there's a bit of a theme. And the last realm is associated with darkness and night. So what do you think they're called? If you know nothing about the series, I guarantee that you are wrong. It is Nightshade. Wildlings, skylings, moonlings, starlings, sunlings, Nightshade. So each realm has a ruler, and not only does each realm have their own distinct characteristics, but they also have their own curses. I think it was like 500 years ago or something happened where everyone was cursed. And so each realm has something that takes a strength of their realm and then flips it basically and makes it a weakness. For the wildling realm, the ruler is Isla Crown, and their strengths are beauty, nature, they're seductresses. I guess they're mostly women. And the wildling realm, they're looked down upon for being seductresses, and they're also good at singing. They are the only realm to have two curses. Each realm has one, but they have two. But so they're cursed to kill anyone they fall in love with, and are also cursed to live exclusively on human hearts. So we also have the Skyling realm, and the ruler of Skyling is Azul, because, you know, blue sky. Strengths are flying, and their weakness is they're bound to the ground, so they can't fly. There's the Moonling realm, and their ruler is Cleo, and Moonlings' strengths are they're water masters who can control the sea, and they also have the power to heal. And their weakness is every full moon, the sea quite literally will reach up and grab them and drown them. For the Starling realm, their ruler is Celeste. Their strengths are they can manipulate energy from the stars, which is basically telekinesis. And their weakness, their weakness is they don't live past 25. They would have to have children young. They couldn't wait to have kids by the time they're like 16, 18, because they only have a couple years. They need to be able to raise their kids to be old enough to be sort of self-sufficient. The age starlings die at comes with its own societal issues, but aside from that, I don't get how that takes one of their strengths, which is telekinesis, and flips it. Take away their telekinesis. Obviously it's a horrible thing to have your entire society not be able to live past the age of 25. How does that take its strengths and then make it a weakness? They still have telekinesis. And then we have sunlings, and the sunling ruler is Oro, who is also the king of Lightlark, so he rules over everybody, but he also has all the powers from all the different realms. Oro looks like a Sunling. He also only has the Sunling curse. The other curses do not affect him for some reason. Only his Sunling attribute is affected. Sunlings, their strengths are they can control fire, and they draw power from the sun. They basically die in the sun. Last but not least is Nightshade. So Nightshade's ruler is Grimshaw. They draw power from darkness. Their weakness is that they can't go out at night. The curses happened 500 years ago. No one is entirely sure why the curses were spun, but oracles also exist in this world, and to learn about why the curses exist, the six rulers went to, I guess the six rulers, yeah, I suppose so. It just says the rulers. So the rulers of each realm, they went to an oracle and they got a prophecy. Only joined can the curses be undone. Only after one of six has won, when the original offense has been committed again, and a ruling line has come to an end, only then can history amend. The original offense is unknown to pretty much everyone. However, it is important to know that at one point, all the Lings plus the Nightshade people, they lived on Lightlark as one. Like I said, a storm covers the island of Lightlark, and some people left Lightlark to settle their own lands, though some do stay on Lightlark. So there's some what are they called? There's some starlings, there's some skylings, there's some sunlings. Like some of them live on Lightlark and they're not in their own realms, although I'm not sure, well, that might be in the second book, but I'm pretty sure most of the Nightshades live in Nightshade, or what's their thing called? I forget. I don't know, because okay, I'm getting ahead of myself. The wildlings, they live, do they? I don't fucking know. Starlings live on like Star Isle, moonlings live on like Moon Isle. I don't know what Nightshade's thing is called. I think that's just Nightshade. Oro, he is bound to Lightlark and he can't leave it. He like draws his power from it, like they're connected in some way. So this aspect of his character, it does get expounded upon more in the second book. Oro's fate is basically tied to Lightlark. Does it get expounded on more in the second book? I think it pretty much gets tackled in the first book. Like that's kind of the whole point of, yeah, okay. That's the whole point of a certain plot point. In the synopsis, it says that every 100 years, Lightlark appears, but really what happens is the storm moves and it becomes accessible to others for 100 years, allowing for Lightlark to put on the Centennial. So in chapter 1, Isla is Isla. I'm gonna do that the whole entire time. So Isla is preparing to travel to Lightlark for the Centennial. The other rulers are like far older than her. Isla is only about 19 or 20, so this is her first Centennial. And even though it's her first Centennial, she's been preparing for this. Her handlers, Tara and Poppy, have been prepping her, training her, helping her learn how to fight, so she is like a skilled warrior already. Isla exits the castle that she has pretty much been holed up in for her 19 to 20 years of life. The reason for why she's been kept on such a tight leash will be revealed later, but her goal at the Centennial is clear. Even though we're not sure why she's been locked up for so long, we do know at least why she's going to the Centennial. She basically wants to go to the Centennial and break the curses for her people. And the interesting thing about the Centennial is that nobody has ever died. We would know if a ruler died because their realm would be gone and they're not supposed to have heirs when they go to the Centennial. So nobody's ever died, but you'll also see there's not really a reason for any of them to die in the Centennial unless they just go crazy and start killing each other. But the actual trials, they're not necessarily dangerous. And then that also begs the question, how do they know? Well, I guess because the oracle said so. But how do they know that somebody has to die to break the curses? Because nobody's ever done it yet. If a ruler dies, their entire realm dies, like everybody in it. So somebody could die just because of a prophecy that could have been misinterpreted or something, because it says a ruling line has come to an end. I mean, that can mean a lot of things. You could be dooming an entire population of people on something that you're not entirely confident about. I don't know. It was a little too risky for me. Chapter 1 ends and chapter 2 opens and we're immediately on Lightlark. A portal opens. But isn't portaling... I'm confused because only one person is supposedly able to have the portaling power. But somebody opened the portal somehow and and Isla is on Lightlark. Isla steps onto a cliff and she teeters a little bit. I guess she's about to fall and somebody catches her. On the book it says, "Open your eyes," a voice said, dark and striking as midnight. Isla hadn't even realized they were closed. With a blink, the world stumbled, then steadied, this portaling far worse than using her star stick. The face belonging to the man looking down at her was amused and familiar somehow. He was so tall, Isla had to tilt her chin to meet his eyes, black as coals. His hair spilled ink across his pale forehead. Nightshade, no question, which meant, "Thank you, Grimshaw," Isla said firmly. She quickly straightened and looked around, hoping no one had seen her stumble. She could practically hear Poppy and Tara in each of her ears scolding her. So Isla thinks that she's met Grim before. Like, he just seems very, very familiar. And she asks him, "Have we met before?" And his answer is not really a no. His answer is, if we had, it wouldn't have been just once. And he says this while looking Isla up and down. So he's basically flirting. Isla gets all bashful because in her seclusion, she has not had much interaction with men, especially not men who look like Grimshaw, who is our hot shadow daddy of the novel. Aster drops in a bit of information into the narrative so that we can learn this. So each centennial was a giant game, a chance to gain unparalleled ability. It was said that whoever broke the curses by fulfilling the prophecy would be gifted all the power it had taken to spin them. The ultimate prize. What power? Nobody knows who or how the curses were made. This is the first centennial that Nightshade has ever been present, and the reason is that nightshades have the ability to make curses or spin curses, create curses, whatever word you want to use. And so people think that they are the one, or at least Grim or somebody Nightshade is responsible for the curses. They've been shunned pretty much. The only thing is, like, why would they curse themselves? Other rulers start arriving to Lightlark. Azul shows up, Cleo comes in, and Cleo is the Moonling ruler, and she's kind of bitchy. That's pretty much her only characteristic. And then there's Celeste, the Starling ruler, who appears, and she's in her 20s also, because Starlings don't live past 25. So Celeste and Isla are the youngest at this centennial, and she is also new to the centennial. Grim, Isla, and Celeste, they are the three newbies. The rulers began the path to the palace, and Isla's heart tripped in anticipation. She had been so focused on them, she hadn't gotten a chance to truly take in her surroundings. The rest of the century, the island was encased in its storm, but now the clouds had cleared. Lightlark was a shining, cliffy thing. Its bluffs were white as bone, and sunlight rained down in sheets of misted gold. One of the original sources of power, its ground still thrummed with it, singing to Isla in a humming siren song. She could feel its force with each step, each breath. She drank the island in greedily, like the wine she was never allowed to touch, equally addictive and dangerous. Poppy's lessons ran through her head, facts on paper that were now real and solid before her. Thousands of years ago, the island was cut into several pieces so each realm could claim a shard. Nightshades left the island shortly afterward to form their own land. Wildlings left after the curses. The pieces that remained were Star Isle for the Starlings, Sky Isle for the Skylings, Moon Isle for the Moonlings, and Sun Isle for the Sunlings. Then there was the mainland, where all the realms had traditionally gathered together. It was the Centennial's base. It was also historically home to Lightlark royalty. The mainland castle loomed nearby, set high on a cliff like a crown jewel, jutting precariously out over the sea, large enough to be its own city, which was good, considering its main inhabitant could not leave it, not during the day at least. Isla must have been staring at it, because Celeste sighed next to her. "Do you think he's watching us?" she said quietly. He, the Sunling ruler and king of Lightlark, the last remaining origin, with blood from each of the four realms that still had a presence on the island. He could wield each of the four Lightlark powers, and by all accounts, he was insufferable. So we get more information in the following lines about the world and the magic system, and it is actually relevant to Oro as a character, because we're basically told that in this world, falling in love means that your partner can access your power. And so Oro is incredibly closed off to people and afraid to fall in love because he's worried that somebody could use his power. He's worried that somebody wants to use his power because he has access to so much, which is a plausible reason to be wary of who you fall in love with. Although, is it mutual love and affection? Because if it's mutual love and affection, if the person truly loves you, they wouldn't want to take advantage of you. If you really want to to get like super serious about it. There are toxic relationships where people love each other, but they hurt each other. So, you know, I don't know. Anyway, yeah, it makes sense. Okay, he doesn't want people to take his power. Fine. The rulers are shown to their rooms in the castle where they will be staying for like about 3 months. It's a really long time. I don't know, the just progression, the pacing of the plot, it's just, I don't know, I don't feel the passage of time all that well. Isla is shown to her room by a starling girl, and her name is Ella. And so when Ella leaves, Celeste is at Isla's door and they start jumping around and all this stuff because they are besties. Isla met Celeste by using her little star stick and traveling around, and she ended up meeting Celeste. It was deduced by Celeste that the star stick is a starling relic, and so I guess that's why it is called star stick, although again it would be helpful to know what it looked like. It is nighttime. Isla is standing on the balcony and she is singing. Apparently wildlings share characteristic with their sisters, sirens of the sea, like mermaids. I mean, sirens really in like Greek mythology are like birds, like half bird, but you know, typically sirens usually nowadays are portrayed as mermaids, the more deadly kind of mermaids, like think that one scene in Pirates of the Caribbean. So but somehow wildlings are related to mermaids. I mean, actually it says sirens, but it never actually says mermaids though. I'm just assuming it could be half bird people, so wildlings are related to half bird people. In a way, it kind of makes sense. I don't know. I'm just gonna say it makes sense. As Isla is singing, she hears clapping and she gets startled, so she falls like over the balcony, I guess. That's actually crazy. Like, you got so startled that you fell over the balcony? How? But anyway, so the balcony is like right over the cliff and she's gonna die, right? She's finna die, but she gets saved. She ends up waking up in her room, and presumably she was saved by the person on the balcony because that's the person who was like clapping for her, who was watching her. And then we get this passage: after the curses were spun, there was chaos. That same night, the six rulers of realm sacrificed themselves in exchange for a prophecy that was promised to be the key to breaking the curses. Tara and Poppy claimed her own ancestor had been the one to lead the sacrifices, the first to die. True or not, Isla could never imagine the strength it must have taken to give up their lives for the chance at their people's salvation. The power the six injected into the island and transferred to their realms made the centennial possible. Every 100 years for 100 days, the six realms were given a chance to save themselves because of that sacrifice. The prophecy to break the curses had 3 parts, which had been interpreted in several ways throughout the centuries. One was clear: for the curses to be eradicated, one of the 6 rulers had to die. It was why the centennial was such a risky affair, feared and prepared for, why Tara had trained Isla to fight since the time she could walk. Isla's sudden death by drowning might have been the first step to fulfilling the prophecy, but for some reason, the person on the balcony wanted to keep her alive. Why? I think I know why. I think I actually do know why the person saved her. Yeah, I do. I guess it kind of makes sense with the plot. So Isla nearly dies and doesn't, but she is all wet and she's also nearly late for dinner. All of the rulers are gathered in like a dining room to have dinner together, and they're all dressed nicely, of course, but she is dripping wet. She's damp. We're gonna say she's a little damp. And she also grabs like the first dress she can find, and it's a little bit more risque than what she wanted to wear. It's a dress that she was saving for another occasion. She is going to ramp up the sexiness basically as time passes through the centennial. But so she was trying to play it safe, not trying to go all out, and then she's going all out. She gets into the dining room, and Oro, the king of Lightlark, and the person who saved her regards her in a dismissive manner and is just generally a cold person. Dinner happens, and Isla and Cleo, the ruler of Moonling, do not hit it off. They have a very tense exchange at dinner, and there's really no reason for Cleo to act this way, honestly. I mean, you could chalk it up to like jealousy, but why is this like 500-year-old ruler, a beautiful ruler apparently, jealous of a 20-year-old? So I wouldn't think it's jealousy. She just doesn't like Isla, I guess because of, you know, wildlings do have a stigma already, but there's just like not a reason for Celeste to be so bitchy. I mean, I guess that's just her character. She's just like not a nice person. I guess she's just not a girl support girls kind of girl. Isla is, remember, one of the curses for wildling is that they are cursed to eat human hearts. So for dinner, Isla is served a plate of a prisoner's heart, a murderer of women, which it's supposed to make the cannibalism seem okay, which like not everybody's a bad enough person to be cannibalized. Like how many prisoners do you have? But so Isla's supposed to eat hearts and want to eat hearts, crave hearts, but she is hesitant with the heart. And it appears that she's more worried about how uncomfortable she'll make other people. I personally, I don't know, I would just look the other way. I'm not that squeamish as in terms, well, I am, but as in terms of just like, I'll just look the other way. I'll eat my food. I don't know, when I have like a good plate of food in front of me, it's really hard for me to like not eat it. I will just turn the other way and eat my food. But Aura was like, just eat your heart. Eat the heart, bitch. Like, I got you the heart. Eat it. Here's what other people think. Eat it. But she doesn't want to do that. So she takes a bite, like one bite, and after that, Grim is like, no, we're not doing this. Azul looks a little grossed out. A servant will take your plate up to the room and you can eat it in the room. And so the heart is sent to Isla's room for later, and then we are told at the end of the chapter that she spends her night throwing up. And the reason why she spends her whole night throwing up is because Isla is not affected by the wildling curse, because Isla doesn't have any power. And this is the reason why Isla has spent majority of her life locked away in a castle. It should have been a tower. Honestly, if we're gonna do it, just have her locked in a tower. So Poppy and Tara did not want anyone to know that Isla is powerless, so she was hidden away. She lived a life of seclusion, although she was able to get out. So like by using the star stick, she wasn't really that secluded. I mean, if you can just do a little wave of the wand and get out the room, I mean, you're not really secluded. One of the 6 rulers had to die to break the curses, according to the oracle's prophecy. But it was worse than that. A ruler's power was the life force of their people. So if one died without an heir, all their people would die along with them. Those were the stakes of the game. Breaking the curses meant eliminating an entire realm. The first centennial had been a bloodbath. All the invited rulers set out to kill each other, and many of the islanders were caught in the crossfire, but the heads of realm were too skilled, too ancient already. The 100 days ended with all of them alive and the curses intact. It was decided that future centennials would have order. It was decided that there would be rules. So here are the rules. Rulers cannot assassinate another ruler until the 50th day, and when partners are assigned on the 25th day, rulers cannot assassinate their partners. All rulers must attend and participate in every centennial event. To participate, none of the rulers can have an heir, because again, somebody has to die, and if they have an heir, I guess it's not really explained, but you would assume from context that the power would be transferred from ruler to heir, so it wouldn't work. So they're trying to cut it. When the rulers accept the invitation to the centennial, they're also accepting the rules. To solidify that they adhere to the rules, they all take a blood oath to, I guess, magically bind themselves to the rule. They take off their crowns and they open wounds on themselves. And so the rulers have magical blood. So their blood is all supposed to do something. I think like Oro has like magic fire blood. I don't know what the others do. But so wildling blood is supposed to bloom flowers. So Isla doesn't have any power. So when she bleeds, she like has like she has like petals in her hand. So she just cuts herself, and then I don't know why that image makes me laugh. But yeah, so she uses the petals to make it look like they're coming from her blood to make people, you know, think that she has power and that she's not powerless. Isla is going to town for a new wardrobe. Each ruler is allowed a new wardrobe on the house, I guess. Isla, on her exit, she runs into Grim, and he's also going into town, and he's like, awesome, that's great, perfect, I don't like walking alone, let's go together. At one point in this world's history, Lightlark the island and Nightshade the realm went to war. Grim was in those wars and was the leader I would assume. And so people are very wary around him, not only because he's a nightshade and so they have their own stigma the way wildlings have it, they're also just afraid of him. And as these two are walking, Grim and Isla, Grim is flirting, like heavily flirting. And it's very obvious that he wants her, and this makes Isla nervous. She's nervous around him, and I don't even think it really has anything to do with his reputation, so to speak. I think she's just nervous because she can pick up that he's flirting with her. Aside from the fact that he very obviously wants to do the nasty with her, Isla is worried that he has a flare and that he's using it on her. A flare in this world, along with the powers of their realm, each ruler has their own special unique ability that they don't tell anybody. It's supposed to be a secret. Grim admits that he does have a flare, and Isla wonders if it's some sort of mind reading, mind manipulation, but it is not. He confirms that he can't read minds, and he also confirms that he's not using his super secret flare on her. Girl, it's not the flare that's causing your naughty bits to tingle. These two get to the marketplace, and each building is a very specific shape. So there's like an overturned teacup and a building in the shape of a star. There's also a building that looks like a winter ornament, and Grim takes the lead and goes into the building with that's like shaped like a winter ornament, and the smell of chocolate hits Isla, and she's like, heck yeah, chocolate. I love chocolate. It's giving Aelin. Grim very nonchalantly puts some change on the counter, and he's like, 2 of everything. Grim takes a piece of chocolate and he feeds it to Isla. I will never take food off of somebody's fingers. First off, well, especially a lot of strangers' fingers, but even somebody that I know, I'm not eating off of your hands. That is gross to me. It's like, did you wash your hands? I don't know Grim. I wouldn't know Grim. I don't know him. He's a stranger. I don't want your grubby hands near my mouth. I don't know what you've been doing with them. I don't know who you've been touching. But anyway, she eats it. Without question. She closes her eyes, like just reveling in the goodness of the chocolate, and then she feels something hard against her. She feels something hard against her mouth, and no, it is not. That is not what you think. It's another piece of chocolate, but Grim is trying to feed her again. Now, I know that they're bound to rules, but like, you don't know what's in the chocolate. You had your eyes closed. Everybody's afraid of him, so they're not necessarily going to stop him. What if he did something to the chocolate? You don't know him. But anyway, she eats the chocolate. He recommends a spicy chocolate, which that sounds interesting. Spicy chocolate. I don't know if I would like it, but anyway, he recommends her a spicy chocolate, and he's like, it's fine, it's not that spicy, and she eats it and it burns her mouth. And he gets up and literally walks through the counter, not like flips up a thing and then walks through. He becomes nearly pretty much intangible, like a ghost and like a shadow, and goes through the counter and then grabs milk from the kitchen, I guess. Manners, sir, you don't own the shop. You could have just asked, but anyway. And he brings Isla milk to cool off her mouth, and she calls him a demon for acting like the spicy chocolate wasn't that spicy. They do their little chocolate tour of Lightlark, and so they leave the shop, and Grim goes somewhere else, I don't know, and Isla goes to play princess dress up. And so when she gets inside, the tailor asks her what are her preferred colors, because each realm has a color that reflects their power, the element that they're associated with. I guess they're not really able to wear any other colors. I'm assuming that the colors that they wear maybe somehow enhances their power. I don't know. For wildlings, it is typically green, but they can wear more colors because nature is many colors. For skylings, it is blue, moonlings white, starlings silver, sunlings gold, nightshades black. Isla's preferred colors are green, red, purple, and pink on occasion. Her preferred fit is tight, and her preferred length is long. So she had all of these answers, very, very specific answers prepared, because she has been instructed to have clothing to present herself in a certain way for a reason that will be revealed later. So the tailor is a starling, and so using the energy from the stars, he basically is a telekinetic and can make the fabric float and all this stuff around Isla to create a dress. When she leaves the shop, Grim is there waiting for her, staring her down, and she tells him to stop being a creep and stop looking at her like that. He tells her, if you want me to leave, I can leave. So even though he is being a little creepy and seems to want to be around her a lot and doesn't seem to really want to leave her alone, he's like, if you say leave, then I'll leave. Isla doesn't really say anything. She's actually wondering if maybe she can use Grimm for the Centennial to her advantage, and I do think that it is quite hilarious that a powerless 20-year-old who has been sheltered her entire life thinks that she can somehow use a 500-year-old warrior who has like crazy power. Isla and Grimm start walking again, and he tells her that he can feel her curiosity because he can't read minds or anything like that, but he can read and perceive emotions. She didn't meet his gaze. Don't read me, it's rude. He laughed. It's not like I can help it. Isla gave him a look. The famed, all-powerful Nightshade ruler can't control his own abilities. The corners of his lips turned deviously. Famed? Well, at least I know rumors of my greatness have reached even the wildlings. He looked down at her and the smile faded. I'm glad you are having armor made, he said, pulling something from his pocket. It was a sheet of gold foil, the same paper her Centennial invitation had arrived on. My demonstration is first, he said, returning the card to his black cloak before she could make out the words. He leaned low, lips getting dangerously close to her ear. You will also need a sword. By the time Grimm's words sank in and the chill from his proximity had disappeared, so had he, and Isla was left alone in the market, wondering why the ruler of Nightshade was helping her. So the first trial of the Centennial is a duel, and Grimm has basically just given Isla a huge tip because she can now prepare for the duel. And in the next chapter, she is practicing with Celeste and lets the Starling ruler know what the first event is and who told her. Celeste basically warns Isla to not mess with Grimm because Grimm is bad news. Celeste sighed in a long, suffering way. She placed both of her delicate hands upon Isla's cheeks and said, my lovely, lovely, naive friend. Isla would have balked if it had been anyone other than Celeste saying those words. But even though they were practically the same age, Isla had learned priceless lessons from the Starling. Celeste had taken her under her wing when she had no one other than Poppy and Tara. You will stay away from him, she said steadily, a sister warning a misguided sibling who should know better. Celeste was right. Grimm was a distraction. She wouldn't be the fool who fell for his tricks, especially when her own mother had died because of her affection toward a man, especially when she had made it her mission to prove she was more than the temptress her guardians had trained her to be. The first step in Tara and Poppy's elaborate plan was to seduce the king, steal his power by making him fall in love with her. Without this step, the rest of their strategy was useless, and Isla was willing to do many things to save her realm, but that wasn't one of them. Luckily, her friend had thought of another way for Isla to get everything she wanted. Celeste's plan is to locate the Bond Breaker. The Bond Breaker is an ancient artifact that supposedly can break curses, and Celeste learned about this artifact through a ancient text in the library of Star Isle, I think. So it is Isla's hope that they can use the Bond Breaker, her and Celeste, to free her people from the wildling curse. So the catch is, and I have to sneeze. Hold on. No, I'm good. Okay. So the catch is that everything on Lightlark has a cost. The cost of using the Bond Breaker is that it requires a lot of blood, enough to kill one person. It is Celeste and Isla's, did I say Isla? God damn it. It is Celeste and Isla's plan to share the cost, and hopefully they don't die. That is honestly a lot of confidence to instill in a unknown artifact that people don't know a lot about, and there's not a lot of information on. But in general, if I was a ruler in this world, I would be extremely cautious about everything that I do, because you are potentially putting a whole entire population at risk by just you could slip in the bathroom, bonk your head, and there's your whole entire people. There's a whole race of people just gone like that. So the Bond Breaker supposedly will only break the curses for their realm. Celeste and Isla, again, this is all the information she's getting from Celeste. She doesn't know. So Isla's got this, hope set out for this artifact that really just does not have a lot of information, which, yeah, I mean, she's naive. That's the point, but it's still just you're putting a lot of confidence on this. Using the Bond Breaker, and according to how it works, it would also mean that the power that they win, whatever power it is, it's never stated, but whatever power they win at the end of the Centennial, if there is a winner, or I don't know if they win the Centennial and then they get a power, or they would have to break the prophecy and then they get a power. I don't know, or the power. But using this method, the Bond Breaker, they will not get that, and they're aware of that. Isla, especially being powerless, she's fine with that. She just wants to help her people. So the plan is literally just visiting each library of each realm and seeing if they can find the bond breaker. That's their grand plan. And honestly, they don't visit every realm, which maybe makes me think that either they don't think it's in those places or they already tried it, but it's not on the page, or maybe I missed something. But Isla, it is her plan to disguise herself for certain places that she needs to go to. Wildlings have elixirs that range from healing remedies to makeup to box hair dye. Isla had also stolen clothing, or she steals clothing. I think she breaks into this tailor's, like the Starling tailor, I guess, on Lightlark. She breaks into that boutique and then steals clothes so that she can wear the colors from each realm. And it is really, really convenient and helpful that the wildling realm can wear almost any color. It's just very convenient. It is chapter 7 and the duel is here. Grimm's duel. That sounds like a video game. The first round is Azul versus Oro, and Oro clears, okay? Then the next one is Celeste versus Cleo. So Isla's watching her friend and Grimm can sense how nervous that she is. He calls her Heart Eater. She calls him Demon. He calls her Heart Eater. So while she's talking to Grimm, Isla, and like just fuming at how irritatingly hot he is, Cleo wins her duel with Celeste. Celeste's plan is basically to skirt through the trials, like barely passing, but not doing so badly that she would fail, but just doing okay. The plan is she doesn't want to draw too much attention to herself while she's sneaking around trying to look for the bond breaker. And also she and Isla, when the time comes for them to be paired off, they want to be paired together. So if they both equally do so, I guess they believe that they'll be paired together. To be honest, the pairs seem to be at the king's whim. Like, you'll see when it happens. So, like, I don't think they get a choice in who their partner is. So, like, I don't really get the logic behind that, but okay. So the next round after Cleo and Celeste, it is Grimm and Isla. And Isla is like, oh, he created this like duel demonstration just so that he could have her as his partner, and she believes that he like specifically picked her as his partner. Why are the rulers allowed to have their own demonstrations? And also, why would Grimm be allowed to pick his partner? Like, it should be random if these are supposed to be like to the death. They duel and Grimm is very good. He's very strong, but Isla can hold her own and she wins. Behind her, she hears clapping and it's King Oro, and she turns to him. When she turns back to Grimm, he's ecstatic at Isla winning, and she can't pin down what his motive is. Like, why is he helping her? Why did he give her a hint at what the first demonstration would be? Like, he's supposed to be like the big bad, like Nightshade ruler, and he's just being like a real helpful guy. She's confused. The Grimm versus Isla duel was, Isla kind of showcased her warrior skills, and Celeste is not happy because she's drawing too much attention to herself. Again, they have to be sneaky. They're trying to find something, and they have to like infiltrate different rulers' aisles, and so it's not good to draw too much attention to herself. And Celeste is not happy because Cleo won her round. Oro and Cleo duel. Oro wins, so that means that Isla is his next opponent. They go at it and Oro wins, but it is somehow, for some reason, deduced that she let him win. He's like 500 years old. He's been in wars. He's supposed to be like the most powerful ruler in this world, or one of the. Okay, like I said, Celeste and Isla, they have a plan to get the bond breaker. So a part of this plan is to stay with me. The part of this plan is to get skin gloves, right? Okay. Gloves made out of skin. Later, Celeste told Isla that she had searched the Star Isle library. It wasn't there, she said. One library off their list. A pang of disappointment rattled through Isla's stomach. Their plan would have been far easier if the bond breaker had ended up being a Starling relic. I'm going after the gloves next, she said. Isla's head jerked up. She met Celeste's eyes. Don't look at me like that, she said quietly. Like you didn't know this was next. She dipped her chin. Like this wasn't your idea. Of course, Isla knew this part of their plan was next. If the bond breaker wasn't in the Star Isle library, They would need a way to get into the protected sections of the other isles' collections. The gloves were crucial to getting inside them. This particular type of enchanted accessory was well known throughout even the Newlands. Gloves that were able to harness a whisper of a realm's power. Isla had researched them obsessively, believing they could help her during the centennial. All she would have to do was capture a bit of Poppy's or Tara's ability to wield nature and use them to pretend. Unfortunately, the gloves were dangerous to procure. It was said they were made of skinned human flesh. Only dark markets and the Newlands would dare sell such a thing, and Isla had searched nearly all of them. They were rarer nowadays, not regularly made. Doing so wasn't typically worth the hassle. The power they held was minimal, inconsequential. Unless someone found a very specific use for them, Isla had suggested the gloves when they needed a way to get into the libraries as a last resort. Thankfully, during the centennial, the rulers do not have to eat together every night, so Isla doesn't have to do her whole song and dance of pretending like she enjoys eating human hearts. And she also doesn't have to deal with Cleo's insults. And again, why is Cleo so bitchy? Of course, some people are rude and unpleasant, but Cleo is just like rude for no fucking reason. I do kind of wonder if this was supposed to be, so like I said, nightshades and wildlings, they do have stigmas and stereotypes, and I think that Alex Aster is at least half Colombian and has like indigenous heritage, and so I don't know if this is supposed to be like a commentary on how people are treated with basically like microaggressions. So, and that's, yeah, sometimes people are just rude for no reason. And I mean, I've definitely had experiences with, not even necessarily due to race, but just people where some people just seem to not like you for no reason. So yeah, it does happen. But in particular, when you're talking about racial microaggressions and people seeming to dislike you for, there really could be no other reason other than maybe something superficially. It is definitely a conversation that can and should be had in books, and things like conversations like that can be done really well in fantasy, because I feel like with fantasy, it's like holding up a mirror to society, but rather than condemning like actual people, because people don't like to be talked to, you know what I mean? So if you hold up a mirror to them and be like, this is how you be behaving, stop. TV, movies, books aren't like saving the world or changing the world drastically, but sometimes, you know, it can start like necessary conversations, but it doesn't really like go anywhere. Like if that was the point, it doesn't really go anywhere. Isla's kind of response to being underestimated and treated poorly as a wildling is like, well, I'll show you how badass I can be. I can show you how great and powerful and strong I am. And it's like, somebody who experiences prejudice, or people, minorities, groups who experience prejudice, don't need to do anything to prove that they deserve to exist and belong in a space. So even though the rulers don't have to eat together, the next trial does have them in a dining hall again, and it is Azul who is hosting this demonstration. Let us begin, Azul said heartily, smiling widely. The Skyling ruler had the most perfect shining teeth she had ever seen. Tonight he wore robes with triangle cuts along the sides, revealing markings painted across his dark skin, symbols she didn't recognize. Some wildlings inked themselves with needles and paint after the training or honorable feats. Isla was never allowed. Her body did not belong solely to her, Poppy said. It belonged to the realm. She was its representative, its lifeline, even after having been born so wrong. Tonight, I would like to celebrate the tremendous abilities that will allow us to succeed in shattering our curses, Azul said. Rulers of realm. Is that a typo? That keeps happening. Is that supposed to be how it's worded, or is that a typo? Anyway, so rulers of realm, would you honor us with a demonstration of your power? Grim goes first, and he demonstrates a like crazy illusion. A whole bunch of him appears between each chair, like each dining chair, and he makes it seem as if the building is like falling apart, and at the end of it he looks like he's bored, showing that much power and strength wasn't even hard for him. And then so Cleo, she makes wine shoot up from the goblets on the table, which does make sense, I guess, because there is water in wine, but she turns the wine into a giant shark, and then she turns that to ice and then turns it into steam. Celeste makes fireworks go off. I mean, telekinesis, according to certain movies and like comics, can do a lot depending on how advanced it is. I don't know what like fireworks have to do with it, but you know, go off. Azul creates clouds that turn into storm clouds, and Isla is next. and they're supposed to be demonstrating their power, and Isla does not have power, obviously. So what she does is she asks for Oro's help. She has him stand, where does she have him stand? Oh, in the front of the table, and she blinds herself and pulls like a ninja star from her hair that has her hair pinned up, and then she throws it at Oro, knocking the crown off his head. And then when it's Oro's turn, he turns the stone dining table into gold, which then flows out onto the floor, and it turns the floor gold. So he can turn things into gold. An impossible power. Thousands of years ago, it was said starlings can make diamonds, wildlings could make emeralds and rubies grow in their palms like flowers. Sunlings could turn goblets to gold. It represented a complete mastery of power. Could he turn a person to gold? Kill them by gilding them? Rulers decided how their trial would be judged. Azul announced that the nobles would be voting for the winner, with the caveat that they could not vote for their own realm, as if that made it fair. It was no surprise the king won. Again, he deserved to. Isla had to admit, with a display that had rendered them all speechless. Even the Sunling nobles looked shocked. They had clearly never seen Oro use this power before, which only made Isla wonder what else the king was keeping secret. I am confused. Oro has won 2 trials so far. He won the dueling tournament, and then he won this demonstration of power. And my question is, hypothetically, if he were to win, what would happen? According to the prophecy and like the novel and what Aster has set up, is that each centennial was a giant game, a chance to gain unparalleled ability. It was said that whoever broke the curses by fulfilling the prophecy would be gifted all the power it had taken to spin them the ultimate prize. So if Oro wins the centennial, what does he get? Nothing. Like, you do all that for nothing? Like, the whole point is that somebody needs to die. So really, honestly, like, these tournaments are not, nobody's gonna die. Like, you're just showing off your power. Who's dying from that? And then, I mean, a duel tournament, like a dueling tournament, sure, somebody could die, but like, you're just demonstrating your powers. Unless like Cleo turned that wine shark made out of wine into like an actual thing that could devour somebody. I mean, I don't know. They should be locked somewhere and have to fight each other. That's not happening. So like, how are they going to die? I don't know. Isla visits a man named Juniper in the like town area. He is a Skyling who owns a pub, and people go to him for information. Isla is looking for the bond breaker, and she wants to know how to get past the guards on Moon Isle because she needs access to Moon Isle's library. Juniper is willing to give out information to anybody and any kind of information, but he deals in secrets. So he wants a secret for a secret. Isla's secret obviously would be that she has no power, but that's too risky. Her secret is that she let Oro win, and Juniper looks invigorated by this. Like, he's just like, secrets are crack for Juniper. Juniper tells Isla that there are no guards on Moon Isle during the full moon, which, yeah, anybody should have been able to think about that because you know what the curses are for each realm. So obviously during the full moon would be the best time to infiltrate their island and rob these people. Juniper says that they all go into the castle during the full moon because that's how they keep themselves protected from the ocean. Isla doesn't know when the next full moon is, so she asks when that is, and he tells her. It is Celeste's turn to hold a demonstration, and her demonstration is supposed to be a test of fear, but actually it is a way to get the ruler's handprints or like an essence of their power, so that they can make skin gloves. They can't find them anywhere, or it's like really rare to find them, so they're just, Celeste and Isla have decided that they'll make the skin gloves. So Celeste uses an enchanted mirror that each ruler has to face, and while they like put their hand up against the glass and they face a fear. Whoever conquers their fear first in like the shortest amount of time is the winner, and there's an hourglass that times each of them. So Oro goes first and he takes 3 minutes. Azul then goes next and he's 5 minutes. Cleo less than 2 minutes. Grimm under 3 minutes. Celeste 5, and Isla goes in and she sees basically her room in Wildling Realm. Isla's fear is being trapped. It looked exactly like it did when she left it. Clean, proper. Her wall of swords glimmered at one side, winking their hello. She expected to feel a rush of relief at being back, at being in a place so familiar after 2 weeks surrounded by strangers, in a strange land ruled by secrets. But all she felt was dread. If she failed, this was where she would return. She would live out the rest of her short, cursed, powerless, mortal life hidden away again. The realm would need a better heir for the next centennial, so she would be forced to have a child. She would continue to be sheltered, one book from the library at a time, visits to her people from a distance, if at all, choices made for her by wildlings who knew better, who knew more than just these glass walls, secret travels with her star stick, not even training because there would be nothing left to train for, forests and people that would continue to die, flowers that would become extinct, wildlings forced to kill for survival, unable to ever fall in love, turning them more and more into the beasts the rest of the realms believed them to be. So it takes Isla 6 minutes to get out of the mirror, and Celeste is disappointed by her time because she took the longest, right? Yeah, so she took the longest. Again, their plan is that they do not the worst, just coast on, like go through the middle, just not be too great, not to be too good. This is not within Celeste's plan. Honestly, Celeste, after rereading this and going through it, Celeste is so annoying. I don't like her. She's just like really, like she's not a good friend. I don't think she is. She's very domineering in a way that's just like, she's supposed to be warm and kind, I suppose, but no. I don't like her. But anyway, Cleo wins this demonstration. She took the shortest amount of time. Isla gets her wildling box dye and she dyes her hair blue. She is about to infiltrate the Skyling realm. But a lot of Skylings have blue hair. The Skyling realm is a conservative's worst nightmare. Everyone has blue hair, nearly everyone, and their leader is a black gay man. How does it look? Isla finally asked after most of her hair felt like it had been covered. Celeste said nothing. She whipped around to look at her friend's expression and found a smile tugging on the corner of her lips. What? She finally laughed. You just look different, she offered, but it's good. The color is nearly exact. Nearly? Celeste waved her concern away. No one will be able to tell in the moonlight, she said, and no one will be in the library this late. Isla groaned. So many excuses, so many elements out of her control that had to go right. The mixture was enchanted, thanks to the ever-changing tulip soil. Without it, the color wouldn't have stuck nearly as quickly or effectively on her dark hair. Still, the blue would only last a few hours. Her friend took her stained gloves off and gripped her hand tightly. This will work. You do this all the time. Isla gave her an incredulous look. I sneak onto other realms' aisle all the time. No, but you sneak into other realms' new lands all the time, wearing stolen clothing, impersonating another ruler's people with your star stick. That was true. This was different. This was the centennial. You move like a shadow, Celeste continued. You strategize like a general. You can blend in anywhere. I've seen you. Well, I have not seen it. Isla goes to Skyling Realm, Sky Isle, I don't know, but where the Skylings live. And it's high up because the Skylings did used to be able to fly, but their curse has them grounded now. Still, I guess, like their structures are still up in the air, I guess. Oro is the only one who can fly, who has access to Skyling power and can fly because the curse does not affect him. And also he's an origin, so he has all the powers from everywhere. So the Skyling Realm's castle is pretty easy to access. The Skylings are really nice and just really open and welcoming. She makes it to a tower where there's a ton of books and she is searching, but she finds nothing related to the bond breaker, of course, because if it was found so early in the game, there would be no story. Isla leaves the tower and she comes into contact with Cleo of all people. Cleo does see Isla, but because Isla is in disguise, she doesn't have alarm bells going off. But if she were to get closer to Isla, she would likely be able to tell that Isla is Isla. So she immediately whips around and trying to escape, she runs into Grim. Why is everybody on Sky Isle? I don't know. Grim kind of makes like this little joke, like lighthearted joke, like, you're switching realms, you should switch to Nightshade. And he says, we can't compete with Skyling when it comes to sweets or inventive drinks, but if debauchery is what you're after, his dark gaze gleamed in amusement. We are most famed for a thorough exploration of pleasure. What was he implying? His hands were still on her waist, his fingers long against her ribs. She took a shaky breath. What was he implying? Girl, he wants to have sex with you. Isla is like, ew, no thanks, and she hightails it out of there and thanks Grimm for helping her out because he basically cloaks her in like his shadow power to keep her from being spotted by Cleo. Isla runs into Azul and he kind of interacts with her in a way that makes her think that Grimm told him that he found Isla on his island snooping, but he obviously didn't. He's very much trying to help her. We don't know yet why. We don't know why yet. Isla and Azul talk a little bit. We learn that the Skyling realm is a democracy. There are no nobles because each Isle realm they have nobles and then they have the leader. Azul is the ruler, but he would step down if he was asked to. And if the people didn't want him as the ruler. The catch is though that only a select people are able to be rulers. It seems like it is through blood. How would that transfer? Like, would he be able to give the power to somebody else and then they'd be a ruler? I mean, he still has access to the power. These people don't have a choice in who their rulers are because it's not even just like a bloodline, it's a magical bloodline. Like the powers are passed down from parent to child, so it'd be nice, I guess. Like, it's a noble thing to say, you know, if they don't want me as their ruler, I wouldn't be their ruler, but you still have the power. So who would be the ruler? Joe in the mailroom? But I mean, in that case, you might have like a constitutional monarchy then, I guess. I don't know, I'm just throwing stuff out there. I don't know that much about governments, but you know, like he could be a figurehead and you know, there's somebody who actually makes decisions, but he still has to have some form of power in a way because he literally has powers and it has been destined and decided by genetics. It's Isla's turn now to come up with a demonstration, and her idea is to have the rulers show what each realm is capable of, literally as in coming up with like inventions and what they can contribute to Lightlark. This demonstration is partly a strategy to make Wildling look good, because people just think that they're seductresses who cannibalize people, which they are, or at least I don't know about the seductresses part, but they do cannibalize people. But they do also have the ability to heal. They have access to healing elixirs. And so how the winner would be decided or will be decided is that the audience would vote for which demonstration of a realm's abilities was most useful in securing the future of the island. So Azul goes representing Skylings, and he basically invents like email. The ruler swept into the center of the arena, followed by a trail of other Skylings who were aiding in the demonstration. Our realm has been working on a form of communication that uses wind. Easier communication means more efficiency, streamlined processes, faster invitations to parties. The crowd laughed. Azul certainly knew how to present himself. Isla thought back to what he had said about Skyling's government the day before. His people did seem to adore him. Was it because he had given them choice? She of all people could understand the importance of freedom. He grabbed a piece of parchment from an interior pocket of his cape and wrote a message on it. Then he folded it carefully into a square and used his power to fly it across the arena right into Isla's hand. All eyes were on her. She folded open the page and read the words the ruler had scrawled. Of course, we also have our music. Isla couldn't help but smile. This can be replicated on a grand scale, Azul added. He motioned to the rest of the Skylings who had joined him. They carried stacks of sheets of parchment. Without warning, they threw all of it into the air. Before her eyes, each page folded neatly, then set off, one after the other, on dozens of paths the Skylings had created in the sky, wind currents for the messages to use as trails to their recipients, through infrastructure for mass communication. It was a grand display, an innovation that would surely make an impact on Lightlark. So Moonlings, they have a fleet. Sure. Celeste. So the Starlings, they can turn energy into like actual metal and make weapons. The only thing is that it's not like each Starling has that ability. They have to combine their power collectively to make just one sword. For the Sunlings, I guess I thought it was orbs of fire that can light the island. I honestly skimmed this part, but I think it's like central heating or something like that. But yeah, so they use their firepower to heat things, I guess. It is Grimm's turn, and he does this, and I think this is hilarious. So Grimm stopped at the center of the arena. He gazed right back at the curious faces, turning to face them all to allow them to get a clear look at him. "My realm has nothing productive to offer you," he said. Then he left. Isla is upset about this, partly because she actually gave Grimm a warning. She gave him a heads up because he's been helping her and she wants to help him. She kind of wants to have an ally in the Centennial, but she feels like he made a mockery of her. But anyway, so it's her turn. She's next, and she asks Oro to make a fire, and she sticks her arm in the fire, and people are like, what the fuck? But she uses the wildling healing elixir to heal herself. It's not a very good healing elixir because it cosmetically fixes the issue, but it doesn't take away the pain. It hurts real bad. Isla does not show that she's in pain, so people only just see that the burns are gone. And this is very important and crucial to improving the wildling's image because moonlings are seen as the healers of Lightlark, but they have become increasingly more, like, they've been cutting off the resources to healing. And by having wildlings prove that they can also heal, that's just like more of a healing asset. Anyway, result, Azul wins because woo, mass communication. Isla is undressing in her room. She's having a hard time unzipping because her arm is, she burnt the shit out of her arm. Grimm walks through the wall being a creepy creeper. So she's trying to take her dress off and he makes a comment about helping her with the zipper. So like I said, she is mad that he made a mockery of her demonstration, which sure, I mean, I guess, but like, I thought that this was a tournament. Like for me, like if this was my first Centennial, because this is Grimm's first Centennial, I'm thinking that I'm going to fight to the death. Like I'm going there to participate in blood baths, in carnage. And you're telling me that I have to come up with an invention? And then this is not even something that was pre-planned. Like this is something that they spring on them. I don't know how much time they get to prepare. I didn't know that we had an assignment due. Personally, I don't begrudge Grimm, but Isla does. But Grimm confesses that he's not even there to win the Centennial. Isla asks, if you're not here to win, why are you here? And that reminds me, for some reason, not truly, but I used to be in gymnastics when I was a kid. And I didn't take it seriously. I mean, I was just having fun, but I was also like 8 or something. And this girl, an older girl, I think she was in middle school or something, she asked me like, why was I there? And like, I didn't take it seriously or whatever. And I was just like, I'm 8. I'm 8 and I'm here because I want to do cartwheels. What do you mean? Like, I'm not trying to go to the Olympics. Anyway, I quit. So in response to Isla wondering why he's there anyway, if he's not there to win, he asks, do you know when Lightlark was created? Honestly, that doesn't answer the question, sir. You need to answer the question, but whatever. So Isla believes that Lightlark was created by Oro's ancestor. The first origin in his name was Horus Ray, but according to Grimm, that is not the truth. That is a lie. The island was created by 2 people, not just Horus, but also Cronin Malver. Her eyebrows came together. My own ancestor. Isla had only ever heard of Horus Ray forming Lightlark thousands of years before. Nightshades weren't even welcomed on the island, didn't even have a dedicated isle anymore. Lightlark became more powerful than either founder could have anticipated. It made both men greedy, turned friend against friend, and ended in a duel, and when Cronin lost, all of Nightshade fled to form their own land, one not nearly as strong as Lightlark. His dark eyes found Isla's, and, though she wanted to, she found she couldn't look away. Nightshade power built this place just as much as Sunlings did. My father believed it was time for us to regain control of a land we had claim to. That was the reason for the war between Nightshade and Lightlark. No wonder Grimm hadn't been invited to any of the previous Centennials. Isla wondered how Oro could host the person who had invaded his house, his home, and killed his kin. The king must have truly been desperate to end the curses. Why? What was he hiding? Woo, can't read today. And what do you think? Isla asked, voice barely above a whisper and still feeling too loud. Grimm ground his back teeth together. I told my father to sign the treaty. We had lost too many people. We were going to lose everything if we didn't agree to peace. As part of the agreement, I was sent to live on Lightlark. a reminder that if Nightshade slipped up, they could kill my father's only heir. I lived here for 20 years until. He didn't say the words, but Isla knew the next part well. Until the curses were cast and all the rulers of realm died in sacrifice on one horrific night. Until power was transferred to heirs for the last time, until the new rulers and most of their people fled the island and the incoming storm that would engulf it. Honestly, though, the question was, if you're not here to win the Centennial or gain anything, why are you there? What did this answer? What did that answer? I'm trying to read it again. He's saying that, is he trying to prove that Crona Malver was also the one who created it? Is he trying to fix the reputation of Nightshades? I was sent to live on Lightlark, a reminder that if slipped up, they could kill my father's only heir. I lived here for 20 years. Oh, is he back to fulfill the treaty? I don't know. Cleo's demonstration is next, and hers has everyone gathering at midnight for a test of desire. Girl, midnight? No. I'd be like, well, everybody has to participate, I guess, because they took that blood oath. According to Cleo, a true ruler must deny the selfish wants of their heart for the good of their realm. You will be guided through the maze by your own heart. It will lead you to what you desire most. The winner will be decided not by their desire, but by who can reach it first. For worse than desiring something above the good of one's realm is not being sure of what you want at all. Cleo wins the maze and water thing, and Isla struggles. The water is very cold. So she gets out and she asks Ella, her temporary castle attendant, to help her get to her room. Isla is still cold and thawing, and Celeste comes to give her soup, and they just discuss what they need to do next regarding searching for the bond breaker. The full moon is happening like that very night, and so Isla is going to be searching Moon Isle's library. Juniper might be the most or least trustworthy barkeep on the island. Isla still wasn't sure, but his information had been correct. There were no guards on the bridge that night. The moonling curse meant that every full moon, the sea sought out moonling blood. Ships were cracked in half by 100-foot waves. Girls swept off cliffs by monstrous surges. The sea swallowed them, then went still. Tonight, it was ravenous. The entire isle was empty. It was so quiet, Isla could hear the sea banging against the cliff of the castle over and over, knocks on a door, death demanding its due. Moon Isle was an ornament encased in ice, water, and glass. From the first step off the bridge, Isla felt the frost cold on her chest like regret. Harsh as the ruler who ruled it, and also just as beautiful. Fountains in thin rivers snaked across Moon Isle, giving the water-wielding moonlings constant access to their power. The ice palace sat perched above, watching her as closely as the moon. The paths were carved out of mother of pearl, lined with marble statues depicting sea creatures with winding tentacles, fish-tailed women, and ships floating on nothing. No guards anywhere. Unfortunately, she was going right toward where they were all hiding. Celeste had learned the Moonling Library was deep within the castle walls. That was where Isla was headed. Her hair had been painted white with wildling elixir. She wore the right dress, but something told her that being a Moonling was much more than that. And if any of the guards took one look at her, they would immediately know she was an imposter. Being outside during the full moon was the greatest hint to her identity of all. Isla sneaks into Moon Isle's palace, and what she notices is that there's a lot of guards, essentially a military, so it kind of looks like a Moonling is preparing for a war. And then also keep in mind that they have a fleet that they're building, even though they're not able to be out really on the ocean, particularly if there is a full moon. So meaning like if they're going to spend a lot of time out at sea, they don't need a fleet because like where are you going? So, you know, it just looks a little suspicious. Although I will say, like, they're building this fleet without any idea that the curses are going to be broken anytime soon. So I just thought of that. So they're just going to have these boats sitting on the water just in case. Anyway, Isla nearly gets caught by Moonling guards, but she has her handy dandy star stick and she portals herself away. Oh, and BT dubs, she does not find anything about the bond breaker, didn't find a thing about it. She is nowhere near to getting the bond breaker, of course. There's only one place left to search for the bond breaker, and that would be Sun Isle. Now, they have been to Celeste checked Star Isle, they checked Skyling Realm, Sky Isle, Moon Isle, and then they have the Sunlings. So we're assuming, I guess, that nothing was in Wildling. Isla, I guess, would have known. And then what about Nightshade? I didn't hear a thing about Nightshade. Are we just assuming that they don't have the bond breaker? Do they not have a library? Does nobody in Nightshade read? I highly doubt that. So I don't know. Either way, Isla and Celeste are certain that the last place that they need to search is Sun Isle, and the library specifically, or a library. Chapter 20. And Oro serves tea to the rulers, and it seems like this is like a little bit of a tea party, but turns out no, it is Oro's demonstration. Basically, the tea, they have 3 cups in front of them, and it reveals their secrets. Isla's cups say that she has no power, but she breaks it. And then, well, I think somebody breaks it before her, and then she breaks her own, and then like one by one, each ruler just keeps breaking their cups. The only 2 remaining are Oro and Cleo. Both are currently tied in the rankings. So Cleo looks like she's about to reveal her secret, but her cup falls and breaks, and Oro seems to be the winner, right? No. Sadly, he's dying. He's dying. It's not funny. He's dying. Finally, the king spoke. Since the last centennial, the island has been steadily weakening. Elders have died. Buildings that have stood for thousands of years are now ruins. Our most ancient creatures have vanished. He gripped the sides of the throne so strongly his knuckles turned white. The curses, centuries of rulers living away from the island, thousands of our people leaving. It has all taken its toll on Lightlark, on me. Isla thought of her own realm. The same things had happened. All signs that too little power was being injected to the land and not enough ability was being used. Okay, so the curses basically take a strength and they flip it on its head. And the curses range is extreme. So it goes from they're either inconvenient, like sunlings can't go out in the sun and nightshades can't go out at night, to deadly. So you have, wildlings have to cannibalize people and they kill people that they fall in love with. And then the moonlings get swallowed up by the sea. And then the starlings, they don't live past the age of 25, but like skylings just can't fly anymore. So, I mean, I know if they would want to fly, I know that it's like a part of their being. They probably enjoy flying and it sucks to not have to fly, but it's not like deadly. With that being said, I don't understand how the curses are creating a blight on Lightlark. I know that it's said that, people leaving, it's not injecting enough power into Lightlark, but Isla says that that's the same thing that's happening to wildlings. So is it just because Lightlark has so much power, like it was created by people with a lot of power put into it, and so everybody's powers are connected to it? I don't know. People not using their powers, does it like drain the island? But the thing is, it's like some of these places don't not have power. Like the Nightshades, they still have power. Grimm still has a vast amounts of power. The moonlings are still able to use water. They just can't be out during a full moon. So just don't be out during a full moon. Don't quite understand how the curses are actively harming the islands and the isles and the different realms, because like I get that they are not able to necessarily do the things that they love, but like for the rest of the time they can still use their water power. Oro brings up the prophecy again, and there is a line that says, only joined can the curses be undone. So there is a part of the Centennial where the rulers break off into teams. Honestly, when it says only joined, I don't think that breaking off and splitting up, even though you're in pairs, I feel like you should do something together as a team. Like it should be a team activity. Because Oro is the king, I suppose he gets to decide who are the partners, and he chooses Isla as his partner. And this is very shocking to Isla because she thinks that he hates her. Also, she wanted to be paired up with Celeste because, again, their goal is to continue to look for the bond breaker. And if they're in a partnership and if they're in a team, it makes it even easier. For some reason, they don't want it to be known that they're close. And I don't really know why. I guess because it doesn't want to seem like they have made allies. But like, Oro makes it very clear that he knows Azul pretty well, but maybe because he's the king, it doesn't matter. I don't know. But for some reason, Celeste and Isla just don't want it to be known that they're close, and they were close beforehand. If they had the opportunity to be put into a team, then they could hang out and talk without any suspicions arising. Later in the evening, after everyone is paired up, Oro visits Isla's room and he has a proposition for her. He tells her that since we're a pair, I can't harm you. And if you help me find what I seek, I will do my best to protect you from the other rulers as well. Isla accepts the offer only if he accepts to protect a second realm. Now, he's saying that he'll protect her from the other rulers. He's not saying that he'll protect a realm, but whatever, that is Isla's stipulation. So Isla wants to know when they start. Oro was like, now. Both of them visit the storm that covers Lightlark. It's like far off somewhere, so it's still there. It just like moves. It's during this scene or whatever that the storm is called an enchanted storm, and I'm like, oh, that's new. So I guess the storm is kind of responsible for the blight. Oh, I just realized I'm not wearing my earrings. I took them off and I forgot to put them back on because I left for a while to eat and watch a movie, and then I came back. I don't know what the storm does, like other than makes Lightlark inaccessible. Oro reveals to Isla while they're together watching the storm, I guess, that his goal is to seek the heart of Lightlark. Basically like not an actual heart, but the power source, the life force of Lightlark. Isla thought that it was Oro who was the light force, but he's not. He's just kind of more of like a conduit for the power of the island. The heart of Lightlark blooms every 100 years attached to a living being. I wonder what the significance of 100 years in this book is. Everything happens, not even 100 years, but it's like the number 100. It's like 100 days, a centennial. A centennial happens every 100 years. The storm moves every 100 years. The Lightlark heart blooms every 100 years. But so since wildlings are close to nature and know about things that grow and bloom, Oro thinks that Isla will be the one to help him locate the heart. Oro and Isla, they don't like each other, but it's kind of just a way to make chemistry, or it's a way to create tension between the two of them because they don't really, there's no reason why she doesn't like him. He's just a little cold, and he has a reason to be standoffish around people because he does have a fear of people using him for his powers, which is something that Isla was prepped to do. So he's not like crazy, but he's also like not mean to her. He doesn't say anything mean to her, not that I recall. He's just standoffish. But so after discussing the mission and his goal, he flies her back to the castle, giving Rhysand carrying Feyre. I'm telling you, all these fantasy romance authors, they take so many things from the ACOTAR series. Along with the Bondbreaker, we now have something else that we need to look for, but the Bondbreaker and searching for that takes a backseat. Not even a backseat, it's in the bed of a pickup truck. Not even the bed, it's being trailed behind. Not even trailed behind. It's, if you've ever watched National Lampoon's Vacation, it's the dog attached to the station wagon that gets left in the middle of like Montana, Arizona, I don't know, one of them. At this point, once Oro's mission gets revealed, we're focusing on finding the heart. Oro and Isla continue to look for the heart and they find nothing. Same thing that was happening with the Bondbreaker. They find nothing. They're finding nothing with this, finding nothing with that. Nobody can find anything. But they do start to go from bickering to actually talking to each other. It's chapter 24 that Isla overhears a conversation between Oro and Azul, and it sounds like Azul is advocating for the death of a ruler, which would ultimately end an entire population of people. And he says something to the effect of like, we know that somebody has to go. One of us has to go. The next time Isla and Oro meet up, he's like, I totally knew that you were eavesdropping. Isla is concerned about the way Azul was speaking. You know, he was seemingly advocating for the death of an entire realm. So she feels wary about Azul according to what she heard. Oro just reassures her that she has nothing to worry about regarding Azul. Personally, it is not giving the best vibe that the one black character is somebody that she's immediately like, I mean, to be fair, yeah, she did hear him kind of advocating for the death of a realm, but I just find it funny that it's like the one black character is suspicious to her. But so Isla asks about, because Oro is very confident that Azul is not somebody to be worried about and that he's a good person, Isla asks about his story, and Oro shares that Azul lost his husband when the curses were spun. Chapter 6, Oro and Isla are at it again, looking for the heart, and we get a random fact about Cleo being bisexual. Isla sees rose bushes, and I don't even know where they are, honestly. They're in some sort of like garden thing, I think, whatever. But Isla sees rose bushes and vines and thinks that vegetation is protecting something, and it could be the heart. So she goes to look for it, and she gets attacked by the vines. Oro does help her, but he does find it a little odd. He finds it odd that Isla is a wildling, because nature is supposed to respect wildlings, so he finds it odd that nature would attack her. Isla goes into town again to go to a starling store, I guess to look for Celeste, and she is slipped a note that she's in danger. So she catches this person as they walk away and notices that it is a moonling, because they have like a moonling cape. It's like a white cape. So she follows him and ends up getting attacked, like captured and attacked. This group of moonlings have kidnapped Isla, and they want to kill her and break the curses, but Celeste ends up saving her. And so Isla takes this to mean, because they're moonlings, honestly, it could be for any reason. Like, they could just be their own kind of like vigilante group. And she's just assuming that it's that it's moonlings, so they're working with Cleo. But, you know, maybe. She just has like this vendetta against Cleo just because she's a bitch. She can be a bitch and not want to be like a murderous, crazy person. Then again, she kind of does try to kill her at one point. Or according to Oro, no. But anyway, I'm like getting way ahead of myself. Isla thinks that this is an assassination attempt by Cleo on her. And so with the blood from the dead moonlings, she writes "try harder" on the wall. I'm assuming they're in like some sort of warehouse or something, or maybe like in an alley. I don't really know. After her assassination attempt, Isla is, I think, kind of like maybe retraining herself or something. I don't know. I really must have skimmed because I don't have a lot of detail here. She's just playing around with a dagger, I guess, and she nearly stabs Grimm because he just happens upon her. That's what he does a lot in this book. So these two have not spoken to each other in quite a few days, and Grimm says it's because they need to stay away from each other. If that's the truth, sir, why are you always lingering around? Like, he's always there and consistently seeking her out. He tells her that he is not her enemy, Grimm. Grimm tells Isla that he is not her enemy, and she wants him to prove it. And so there was an exchange between her and Oro at some point in the book where I think, because Oro does not like nightshades, or the nightshade ruler, Grimm. And so Isla was asking about, I believe, just getting rid of Grimm and just getting rid of nightshade and then being done with it and being done with the curses. And Oro said no, because Grimm himself was standing between Lightlark and a greater danger. Isla asks Grimm about this in order to, I guess, prove that he's not her enemy. Grimm didn't look particularly surprised by her question, though he took his time answering it. There are worse things in this world than the curses, or even me. Like what? He shook his head. I could tell you, but it would only distract you. Believe me, right now the curses are the more pressing danger. So Grimm will not be forthcoming about what this greater danger is, but she at least asks him to show her where the wildlings lived before they left Lightlark. He takes her to the Place of Mirrors, which is a palace, and I guess it's Wild Isle, that's what it would be called. Isla, because nightshades can't go out at nighttime, so Grimm takes her to the Place of Mirrors, and she noticed something while she was there, but she goes back during the nighttime so that Grimm, I guess, can't be there as well. I don't know why she would assume that he would be waiting out for her or trying to follow her. But then again, actually fair, because he is kind of hovering around, even though he says that they need to stay away from each other. But so it seems that what she noticed was like some sort of vault or secret door, and she tries to open it with everything she could possibly think of, and she can't open it. It won't budge. Isla goes to Juniper to see if he has any information about what is hidden in the Place of Mirrors. It's a very, very ancient like castle, and people have not been there in a really long time. And basically what Juniper says is that it was ransacked and there's just like not much to be known about it, I guess. So when Isla leaves the bar, Grimm is there, and she asks him if he is following her, which is a fair question at this point, because girl, he is everywhere that you are. It kind of seems like a little bit like he's following you. It starts to pour, and the two of them end up in an abbey, which implies there's a religion. What religion? Grimm and Isla are in the Abbey. And they talk and they flirt, and Grimm so very obviously likes her and cares about her. And she's just always like, is he gonna hurt me? What is he playing at? Is he trying to manipulate me? It's like he's been nothing but really nice to her so far. She asks to see Grimm's power, and he shows her his power. He shows her some of his power, but he also tells her some of the things that he can do, because if he were to do them, it would be really bad. Instead of grinning again, Grimm's expression darkened. The ocean curled with a giant wave that crested before them and collapsed into cliffs just feet away. His mouth was suddenly at her ear. I could open a black hole that would swallow the beach. I could turn the sea dark as ink and kill everything inside of it. I could demolish the castle, brick by brick, from where we stand. I could take you back to Nightshade Lands with me right now. His voice was deep as dreams, dark as nightmares. I could do all of those things, his lips pressed against the top of her ear for just a moment, and I might, if I didn't think you would hate me for it. So what's this got to do with night powers? That's all I want to know. What? So the starlings supposedly have telekinesis. And so apparently Grimm also has telekinesis, because he said he can take apart a castle brick by brick. How? Like atomically? Or like you can physically? I don't know. I don't know. Chapter 30. It has been 8 days since Oro and Isla have gone on their little Seeking the Heart of Lightlark quest. But it took him 8 days because he was trying to find a ghost. So in order to get help from the ghost, Oro promised Isla's body temporarily. He did apparently offer his body first, but the ghost wanted the body of the most beautiful woman on the island. He still, even though he offered his own body and the ghost, that's not the body that she wanted, he was like, okay, sure, I'll bring the hottest girl you've ever seen, and didn't warn her about it. Isla is opposed to this, as one would be, but she ultimately agrees because she wants Oro to show her the library on Sun Isle. It is heavily guarded, and the only way that she can even really get into it is with Oro's permission. The ghost takes over Isla's body, and when she wakes up, she's like locked onto Oro. So presumably the ghost was doing something to Oro while in Isla's body, so it's very weird. But so even though it's for like literally a couple of seconds, the ghost got what she wanted, and she says this. The specter sighed. She sat in an invisible chair. What you seek is not on Star Isle, not this time. This time. Before Oro could leave, she said, a warning, King. The underbelly of the island is rising up. Darkness is at work. We feel it. Feel what? Isla asked. Dread. With a final smile at Oro, the specter disappeared through the wall. Isla wanted to turn to Oro, to scream something at him, but she knew it would make him even more suspicious of her. So they get practically nothing from the ghost. And Isla, after the exchange, she wants to see the Sun Isle library like now. And Oro basically says, well, I agreed to show you the library, but not now. And so they argue because Isla's mad. And she's like, I'm done. I'm not helping you anymore. So next chapter, somebody fetches Isla and they take her to the Sun Isle library. It turns out Oro has given her full access to the library. And so she searches and searches and looks through this library for the bond breaker, but it is nowhere to be found, and Isla is beside herself. You're probably wondering, there was like the secret vault in the place of mirrors, and you know, that might be something where an ancient artifact is being kept behind. You would be wrong, and I'm here to tell you that right now. It's a spoiler, but you're wrong. You're very wrong. And I know it would seem like it would be there. It really would, but it's not. It's chapter 33, and there is something called the Betwixt Ball. Probably because it is betwixt, maybe the beginning and the end of the centennial. And yeah, it's held during the centennial, and Grimm is there, of course. Isla and Grimm dance a little bit, and they dance, they flirt, and he gives her a necklace. And this necklace is basically something that she can use to call him whenever she needs help. Isla doesn't want it, in part because it makes it very obvious, I guess, that she is connected to Grimm somehow. It could just be a regular necklace that you got from somebody. It doesn't have to necessarily be from him, but no matter, because he makes it invisible. Grimm leaves Isla after dancing with her, and he nudges her to go and dance with the king. And in hindsight, after reading this for the second time, I know now why he did that. And it's definitely an interesting reason. I still just don't know why he's flirting with her so much. Like, according to his goal, I mean, I guess you could say he just, I don't know. I have to get to the point. I have to get there to talk about it, but in hindsight, him encouraging her to dance with the king, yeah, makes sense. But like, if you're gonna do that, stop flirting with her. So all the rulers are having fun, I guess, as much as they can at this ball and trying to calm their nerves, because in the next in the next few hours, it's going to be a free-for-all. I truly wish that was true. I wish, because in the next few hours, they are allowed to kill each other. And I honestly really wish that it had gotten a little bit more, like a little darker, because that would have been definitely interesting. But nobody really attempts to kill anyone, like not in a very serious way. So Isla and Celeste are talking, and Celeste is like, what are you gonna do once the no killing ban is over? What you gonna do? You're gonna hide, you're gonna fight? And Isla, our resident badass, is like, I'm going to fight. As Isla and Celeste are chit-chatting, the room like tilts, people are screaming. The island itself feels like it's falling, and Oro looks to be in pain. Oro is able to stop the island from crashing by stopping it with his power, but it definitely hurt the island. Parts of the castle are ruined, and I guess people actually died. And then after this, the marketplace becomes empty. So there are rumors that it was Grimm that did it, so that basically just means that even the townspeople don't realize that Oro is dying. After searching for the heart with Oro after like several weeks now, Isla finally asks for more information on the heart. Another second passed without a response, and she was very close to pulling him off the grid by his foot, but he said it was made during the creation of the island and contains pure concentrated energy from its creator. Who created it? Horace Ray and Cronin Malvere? Oro paused before his finger could reach the next branch. She watched the muscles in his back tense. Slowly, very slowly, he looked down on her. She stared back, eyebrows slightly raised. It seemed he didn't have the energy to glare at her any longer. More than 24 nobles had died at the ball. Each life lost weight on him. She saw it in the firm set of his mouth, the tense shape of his shoulders. Did Grimm tell you that? He finally said. He did. He's much more forthcoming than other rulers of Realm, she said pointedly. Part of her wanted him to glare at her, wanted him to do anything but look so hollow. Oro still hadn't reached for the next ring. She climbed up to his level, so they were matched. Is that all he told you? He asked. She nodded. He frowned. Not as forthcoming as you think, then, he said. Then he climbed up to the next level. What is that supposed to mean? Oro said nothing. Hello? He turned to look down at her and said, ask Grimm. He's the most forthcoming ruler. Is that jealousy I detect? Isla and Oro come across skylings, I guess. They are very pale and they have wings. I really kind of don't know who or what they are. Honestly, like I said, this was my second read through and I was kind of skimming a little bit. But they attack Isla and Oro. So Oro gets cut at the neck and he starts to bleed. And this is where I do wonder, are they able to turn on and off their magic blood? Because supposedly he has like magical fire blood. Here he doesn't have that now. Did Isla need to have the rose petals when she was trying to pretend that she had powers? So Oro's wound is not very deep, but he is injured pretty badly. I think he passes out, but this group of people with wings, they're called like the Hive, and Isla presses them for information about the heart of Lightlark. And she, quickly, because she needs to get Oro to water, because apparently water can heal him. The winged man's smile widened. Very well. The heart blooms somewhere new every time. I have seen it. I know not where it is now, but it seems to always choose a place where darkness meets light. Okay, thanks for nothing. Thanks for not helping Oro to water, and he heals. She nods off a little, but she wakes up to her still holding him. He is still unconscious though, and the sun is rising. And remember, the sun can kill him, so she has to drag him into a cave. And so they're there for a few hours until Oro wakes up. Oro turned his attention to the other side of the cave, the tunnels that led through the underground. Pretty blue lights illuminated the ceiling like a constellation of stars. We're beneath a skyline graveyard, he said gruffly. He nodded toward the bright blue. Glowworms, they eat the bones. Isla scowled. The mysticism of the place ripped away, but she remembered the winged man's words. Is it a place where darkness meets light? He nodded and winced. One of the few on Sky Isle. Once the sun goes down, I'll search it. He seemed to sense her confusion about the winged man's information because he said nightshades did build the island along with sunlings. When they were banished from Lightlark, their lands were built over, but some parts and some creatures still dwell in the in-between. So this is our plan, she said, needing confirmation. We're going to check all the places on the island where Nightshade and Lightlark meet. That's where the heart is. He bowed his golden head. His crown was covered in mud. Both of them were caked in dirt. There aren't many, especially with Star Isle off the list, thanks to the Spectre's information. He stretched. Besides the graveyard, there's only one other place on Sky Isle that qualifies. I don't get it. How about Sun Isle? I will search those locations myself. Isla gave him a look. Yourself? Oro sighed. Do you truly not trust me yet? She frowned. Do you trust me? Oro did not answer her question. Instead, he said, I never break promises. I do not break deals on a whim. He looked at her pointedly. Isla rolled her eyes. And what about Moon Isle? There are a few, but that's the last place we check. Why? Because Cleo has her isle heavily monitored, and if she thinks we're looking for something there, she'll try to find it herself. How many total places are left then where darkness meets light? 8. I don't know how this list of 8 specific places where darkness meets light is very obvious. Because technically darkness meets light at, well, this does come up. Actually, never mind. Technically, darkness meets light at a time, which does come up in the book later on. But that would have been like the first thing that I would have thought of. Don't get too excited, he said, frowning. There are risks. Isla didn't care. They had a firm strategy and a manageable number of places left to search. Still, something made her uneasy. The plan is entirely based on what others have told you. The Spectre, the winged man, she swallowed. Did it ever occur to you that they could be lying? They can't lie to me, Oro said simply. Isla didn't know what that meant. Was it because he was king of Lightlark? Could all his subjects not lie to him? She certainly could, and she had. She asked another question, since it seemed like he might answer it. In the Oracle's prophecy, it says the original offense must be committed again to break the curses. You believe the original offense was wielding the heart of Lightlark, don't you? Using its power. Oro glanced at her, nodded. So that was why he needed the heart of Lightlark, to fulfill part of the prophecy. You said that when Sunling and Nightshade created Lightlark, they trapped a fraction of their power in the heart. Her eyes widened, realization dawning. That's why you invited Grimm here for the first time, she said, the words toppling from her mouth. You don't think he or any Nightshade spun the curse. You think someone used the Nightshade power trapped in the heart to cast them. So, I feel like am I dumb? Because I don't get it. Isla waits with Oro in the cave because he cannot leave until dusk, and they basically play 20 questions, getting to know each other. Isla talks about her feelings of feeling like a bird in a cage, and Oro expresses similar feelings, so they are bonding. Oro also mentions a little tidbit about his family and talks about his brother Egan, who was supposed to marry, because they start talking about romance and stuff, but he talks about his brother Egan, who was supposed to marry this woman named Aurora. Chapter 36. So Isla, right? It hasn't been that long, but I already forget. Isla and Oro, they're at it again to try and find the heart of Lightlark. He's also carrying her in the sky again. And so they're on a mission to talk to the oracles, who are the ones who gave the prophecy in the first place of how to break the curses that the 6 rulers went to. Will the oracles be helpful? No. No, nobody's helpful on this island at all. They know things, and they for some reason can't give the information. Like Oro and Isla are going to those people that I cannot remember what they were, but they had wings, and then they go to the oracles, and like these people seem to know, oh, the Spectre, like they know things. They for some reason can't give any more details. So it's like, if you have an idea of where the heart is located and how to break the curses, why don't you just tell them? Like, just tell them. 3 women were trapped within the ice. The oracles, Oro said, hands falling from her shoulders. Isla, Isla, blinked too many times. I thought there was one. Only one has thawed in the last 1,000 years. Why are they here? Oro stepped to her side. A king far before me trapped them in ice so they would never leave or die. 3 women born with the gift of prophecy, enraged at being imprisoned. 2 of them joined forces with Nightshade, calling to the dark part of the island. When Night Isle was destroyed, they froze forever. So this is a place where darkness meets light. Oro nodded as he placed a hand against the ice and immediately began to thaw. The middle woman's eyes flew open. She floated in the water, her white hair a halo around her head. Her gaze went to Isla, then Oro, then back again. Her voice echoed, sounded like a million voices trapped in one throat. It's been a long time since I saw a sunling and a wildling side by side. She angled her body toward them, her face just inches from their own. I've been warned not to help you, but this is just too curious. This was the woman who had spoken the prophecy of the curses, the key to breaking them. Her words were the ones they followed like law, the ones she had learned from the time she could talk. Warned by who? Oro demanded. The oracle shook her head. That I cannot say, but I will say more than I've promised not to. Isla reasons that it's Cleo. Why? I mean, they are on Moon Isle, I believe. Cleo does have the power to, she has ice powers, I guess. I mean, she has water powers, which translate to ice. Is it reasonable, though? I mean, there's tons of people who would have the ability to thaw the ice. I mean, there's sunlings, many sunlings who would have that ability, and then other moonlings. Isla just hates Cleo so much that she's sure that everything that goes wrong, any evil plan, anything just that seems suspicious, she immediately puts it on Cleo. And think of other suspects. There's a ton of other suspects that you could possibly think of. I don't know why she hates this woman so much. Oro goes, enough of your riddles. We seek the heart of Lightlark. Is it here? The oracle smiled wider. Is it near? Nearer than you know. So it's on Moon Isle, Isla said. So the oracle nodded. Relief nearly brought her to her knees. Where? The woman shook her head. That I cannot divulge. You both must find it on your own. That is the only way to successfully wield the heart. Isla glared at her. That's what I'd be doing too. I'd be like, you need to tell me. The oracle stared back. You have many questions. There are so many things I could tell you, though I should not. She looked at her knowingly. All will be revealed soon enough. Isla's stomach puddled. What does that mean? Puddled? So Isla's stomach puddles, and she's thinking, could that mean that her secret would be revealed? But the oracle says, know this, there are lies and liars all around you. Isla crown. I don't understand why I would be whining. I would be like, just tell me, please. We have been spending days, weeks, I don't even know how long they've been at this, but they are searching for the heart. The oracle knows. She knows. She knows where it is. She says it is nearer than you know. Tell them. Chapter 37, Isla is in her room in the palace on Lightlark, and she decides to draw a portal with her star stick to check up on Wildling. So the thing that is interesting, that the way the star stick is described is that she tumbles through stars and she draws a puddle of stars, but the way that it's described here is that she uses her star stick and she can see through it, kind of like a little window. Isla can see that the wildling realm is decaying. The forests are, I guess they look like burnt or something. It just looks really bad. And she sees Tara, one of her handlers from the palace. Tara is being consumed by nature, overgrown kind of, and this is a wildling death. I guess that's how wildlings die, as they return to nature, so to speak. Isla goes to Oro very visibly upset, and she tells Oro that she's powerless. You would think that he would know, because several times Isla has bled in front of him and she didn't produce flower petals to my knowledge. He's shocked, he's stunned, and then she leaves. She's like, I don't have any power, yeah, bye. Chapter 38, Oro calls all the rulers together. Oro finally spoke, his voice filling the room. Would anyone like to share their progress? No one said a word. Isla wondered what or how much she should say. They hadn't discussed the meeting beforehand. To her surprise, Oro said, Isla and I have scoured the island for a relic we believe that might have been used 500 years ago. We think wielding it was the original offense and that its power created the curses. I just find it interesting that apparently the rulers this whole entire time have been having to come up with a way to break the curses. But I thought that was the point of the Centennials, that they do these tournaments and then somebody's supposed to die and then the curses are supposed to break. So they were also supposed to, in the meantime, come up with their own ways and ideas of how to break the curses. I don't know. Apparently they had assignments though. I again would be the one that's like, we had work to do. Sorry, I didn't know. Like that would be me. I just realized. Oh my god, I'm so bad at keeping myself organized. Sorry. I thought there was something that I had to do like regarding an internship. Like I was like, I haven't looked at my email in a while, but no, I'm good. Anyway, at this gathering that Oro has called with all the rulers, remember they're all paired off. There are 6 of them. 6. So 1, 2. So there's 3 groups of 2. Oro and Isla are partners. He decides to switch his partner, Oro. Oro decides to switch his partner to Cleo, and this is all not to Isla's knowledge at all. And Cleo wants to know why, like, Oro and Isla seem to have been like getting along just fine, working well together. And Oro says that he does not want to work with her because she has no powers. At that, I would have been arrested for treason because I'd have been pissed. They can kill each other now. They're at the point where they can kill each other, and she has just been shown to not have any really real way of defending herself. Isla feels betrayed, and honestly, yeah, I would feel betrayed too. But abruptly at the end of this chapter, Grimm takes Isla and they just disappear, and they go to like a beach somewhere on Lightlark, and he tells Isla that he's known this whole entire time that she has no powers because he can detect curses. They can spin curses and they can also detect curses. And since Isla doesn't have any power, she is not affected by the curses, therefore Grimm can't sense the curse on her. Isla is worried that she is a big target now, and Grimm tells her, just pull the necklace, and if you're ever in trouble, I'll come and help you. Actually, I think he threatens their entire realm. He wouldn't just go after the ruler. I think he like threatened the realm as well. So like innocent people would have to die if Isla is targeted by one of the rulers. If he would, he could. If he would, he could. But it is very, I'll burn the world for you, and that's not a trope that I dislike. Or not trope, but that's not a kind of characteristic of these kinds of books I don't dislike. I mean, it's very dramatic, it's melodramatic, but I don't mind it. Isla fucks off to the place of mirrors for a little bit. She just stays there, kind of like moping. She has a sexual dream about Grimm, and the next day when he visits her, she can't really look at him, and she asks if he sent her that dream. I don't know how he would, because he supposedly doesn't have mental powers, but he did not send her that dream. It kind of seems like when you're reading like that maybe he did, because he's being like very coy about it, but he did not. Grimm leaves. He's not there constantly, but it's the next day after Isla and is done moping in the place of mirrors. She gets a note from Juniper that says he knows who created the curses, and she goes to visit him at the pub with Celeste. Isla goes to visit Juniper at his pub with Celeste and finds that Juniper is dead, and on the wall it says hard enough ? One night, chapter 42, Isla sees Cleo and decides to follow Cleo to Moon Isle, and then Cleo traps Isla in ice. So Isla accuses Cleo of all sorts of things. She accuses him. She accuses Cleo of killing Juniper. Nothing is confirmed by Cleo. But I mean, so it does make her look suspicious because she's hell-bent on killing Isla. She wants her gone. Honestly, Isla is kind of annoying. So yeah, I mean, I'm not saying that's murder is justified. Cleo was like 500 years old. Isla's like 19 or 20. If I was alive for 500 years, I don't know if I'd be able to stand a 20-year-old either. Cleo leaves and Isla is in danger. She is trapped. And this is the first time really where she's in a real sticky situation and there's not like a clear out. She tries to reach up and pull her necklace to call Grimm, and she's not able to, like, her arm is like down here and she can't like reach up, you know, she's frozen. But so Isla's eyes are like, they close and they're like glued shut because they're frozen. She can't see anything, but she can hear people talking, and it's these two people who are basically talking about like eating her. Oro does come to save her, and he's able to do that because he happened to be on Moon Isle with Cleo, because remember, they are partners now. Oro thaws Isla's eyes open, and Isla is still very mad at him. She is still set on like, you betrayed me, and Oro very kind of like nonchalantly is like, I didn't betray you. He wanted access to Cleo, or he wanted to be with Cleo and have access to Moon Isle and to be able to search Moon Isle for the heart without raising any suspicions. I mean, he really could have just told Cleo if that was the case, because then at least he would know, like, if that secret got out, he would know who did it. But I digress. But so his defense is that he told all the rulers that Isla has no powers because it would have Cleo trust him. Oro reveals that Cleo wanted to kill Celeste and then essentially get rid of the Starling realm because she thinks that Starling is the weakest, and Oro actually used his time with Cleo to convince her that this is not the way to go. So Isla, after hearing all of this, she still does not believe that what Oro did wasn't a betrayal. And for some reason, he says that, well, you know, I think, so he reveals to Isla what his flare is, and I guess he does that to show, like, that he trusts her, because the flares are supposed to be hidden abilities. So he reveals what his flare is, and he says that he doesn't lie, and that he never lied to Isla. So that's his defense. I thought he was saying that so that she could trust him. He doesn't lie. He's never lied to Isla, though he knows that she's lied to him, because his flare is that he can detect when people are lying to him. Isla and Oro come to a truce at the end of this chapter, and then they go back. They resume their activities of searching for the heart of Lightlark. Chapter 44. It is the 75th day of the centennial. They've been doing this for like almost 2.5 months. That's a long ass time. It's a long ass time of trying to look for the bond break. It's a long time of like just studying. They're basically just like searching. There's a carnival happening called Carmel. The Carnival of Carmel is held to celebrate the last quarter of the centennial. So the agora, like the marketplace, I guess, it has been relatively empty because of what happened to Lightlark when it was like falling out of the sky. People have not been that active on the island as of late, but with Carmel, it's starting to come alive again. Isla is still in the place of mirrors until Oro invites her to come back to her room at the castle. She and Celeste go to the carnival dressed in representations of their realms. I think I said this in the first part of the video, but Isla and Celeste, for some reason, cannot let people know that they were friends prior to the centennial, so they kind of go their separate. They go to the carnival separately. At this point, they could have mingled well enough to have gotten to know each other, but Isla, because Oro has revealed that she is very vulnerable and weak and has no powers, has to be trailed by Oro's guards. Isla gets tipsy and she escapes her guards and comes across Oro and Isla do talk a little bit, and Oro talks about how he commanded Lightlark's armies during like the wars that they had, which would mean that he was pitted against Grimm at some point. And so Isla's like, oh, so that's why you hate him. Grimm and Oro don't really talk that much. There's the one time, and like they just don't interact enough with each other for anyone to come to the conclusion that they hate each other, because just in general, everyone's very wary around Nightshades and Grimm in particular. There's the one time where the tea demonstration where like it reveals their secrets at the bottom, where he looked pissed, but like everybody was not particularly happy with that demonstration. Oro and Isla, they fall asleep together in the room, just sleeping. It's very innocent. Oro leaves Isla to go back to Carmel, and Isla stays in her room, and she hears a pounding on her door, and it's Ella, the Starling castle domestic. Ella is like panting, she's red in the face, she hasn't got anything out yet, but Isla hears the music and out in Carmel has stopped. And so that's when she gets her dagger, and she's like, what happened? The Starling ruler was attacked. So Celeste has been attacked. Isla moved through the castle like a storm. If she'd had power, it would be everywhere. She ran like she was running from something, wielded her dagger like she might throw it. Her teeth chattered like the marble beneath her feet was ice. Floating in the middle of the maze, I guess, at Carmel is Celeste, and she looks as if she's sleeping. According to Oro, the enchantment that has Celeste suspended in the air is a really old enchantment. Isla's like, this was Cleo. Cleo did it. Where? What do you mean? What do you mean? I mean, she did, to be fair, she did try to kill her. But she followed her. So it's a reason that the enchantment was supposed to kill Celeste, but whoever did it didn't finish. So Grimm shows up and sees that Isla is very, very upset, and he's like gonna do whatever it takes to make sure that the woman that he loves, because obviously, duh, he'll do anything to make her happy, and she asks him to hide Celeste. Isla is still very, very angry. Obviously, her best friend is like in this permanent sleep, kind of like Sleeping Beauty, where it's sort of permanent unless somebody undoes it. So semi-permanent. Oro and Isla are still at it with trying to find the heart. So as they step onto the Moon Isle, which I thought that Oro and Celeste were partners so that he could get on a Moon Isle without Cleo being suspicious. But so now they're just going to Moon Isle. Anyway, so they're on Moon Isle, and Isla's just thinking about all the ways that she could possibly kill Cleo. I really wanted to say Celeste then. So they get to an abandoned castle, and Oro gets naked. Just kidding. So he just takes off a bit of his clothes because where they are, it's like underwater. And so he has to, you know, swim. So Oro says that he is taking off his clothes because there's creatures in the water like lurking where they are, and he doesn't want to be pulled, dragged down by that. Although I just think it's like common sense to not wear too many clothes when going into the water, because duh, it would just make you heavier. Isla is ogling Oro because he is a fine piece of ass. Oro, remember, is dying. Part of his body is a bluish gray color. As Isla looks at Oro, he asks her about her romantic experience because she's like acting really scandalized. You know, I guess he just asks her because it's like basically like, well, how many naked men? Or just, I guess, asking what her comfortability is with naked people. Although supposedly wildlings, some do walk around not wearing a lot of clothes. But then again, Isla has been just kind of like living in her little greenhouse. So she hasn't really had much experience, I guess, with like interacting with wildlings. And maybe that's why she's a little more scandalized, even though the people in her realm are very free. Isla takes off her clothes as well to join Oro in the water, and wears nothing but a tank top and shorts. And Oro is very obviously attracted to her. He's also like looking at her. So they both go into the water to search for the heart again. Is this where darkness meets light? I mean, are we just saying like Moon Isle is as a whole is where darkness meets light, or is this castle a place where darkness meets light, and why? They search the water for the heart, and Isla nearly drowns because of this thing called a night creature. So the night creature has a face lovely and vicious as a nightmare, and it floats in front of Isla. So half of the girl's face was scaled, half of her hair had the transparent silkiness of a koi fish's tail. The Japanese language exists in Lightlark, so there's Japanese people in Lightlark. Her arms and legs were scaled too, creating the effect of submerged silk around her limbs. Mesmerizing. Isla squinted. Her mind had suddenly become just as murky as the water. She was there for something ... but she couldn't quite remember what that was. The girl smiled and reached out a scale-covered hand with nails sharp as knives. To help, Isla realized. She didn't know why, but she took it. So Isla she forgets momentarily what she's even in the water for, but then she's able to remember what she's there for. And she tries to escape, but the night creature gets angry and slices at her stomach, I believe. Eventually, Oro does save her, and he does heal her. With this, they're not able to, they didn't find the heart. Obviously, they didn't find the heart. So there's only one place left to search, and that is in the Vinderland territory. So the Vinderland, that is where former wildlings live, and they renounced their power before their curses were spun, so they were not affected by the curses. That means in this world you can just give up power if you want to. Could people voluntarily give up their powers and then they don't have the curses anymore? Because that's the first thing I would do. Maybe this could be a good lead-in to how, because the whole theme of the Lord of the Rings is that magic is decaying. I don't know what the consensus is on this, but I'm pretty sure that the whole Lord of the Rings is really supposed to be like prehistory to, our world and how we became less and less magical, because that's the whole point of the Lord of the Rings, is just like decay. The elves are leaving, the age of man takes over, and men become the predominant race in Middle Earth. So the people that live in the Vinderland territory are the same people who, when Isla's eyes were frozen shut and she could hear people talking about wanting to eat her, she couldn't see them, she could only hear them talking, but these were the same people. And so that also begs the question, like, they like eating people. So when and why did cannibalism become associated with wildlings? That's like a curse for wildlings, that they eat people. They eat hearts, and they don't want to do that. But these people, they eat people happily. So Oro does tell Isla that I don't know how Isla figured out that these were the same people that wanted to eat her, but she did. I guess because they do live on Moon Isle. So the Vinderland, for some reason, are on Moon Isle. They are, okay, I did put that in my notes. And so Oro and Isla, they had left after the whole night creature attack in the water. They had left, so they go back to Moon Isle. This is like the next night or whatever. When they get to Moon Isle, a bird shows up. It may or may not be a spy for Cleo. As soon as they stepped foot on Moon Isle the next night, the dark blue bird found them. It harped loudly, and Isla pointed her arrow at it. "Make another sound and you're stew," she said Make another sound and you're stew, she said meanly, wondering if she was speaking directly to the ruler of Moonling herself. She should shoot Cleo's bird right in the chest for what she had done to Celeste. So the Vinderland people do surround, like they do almost like basically a guerrilla attack on Oro and Isla, but Oro and Isla are able to take them down by them, like two of them together, take down all these people. It was basically for nothing. They get there in the Vinderland territory and they don't find a heart. 20 days of the Centennial remain, and Isla goes to Oro's room because she has not given up on finding the heart. Isla has a plan. "We start from the beginning," she said firmly, taking in his room. "From the most basic truth, the root of all of this." She bit her lip, thinking about the first thing he had told her, the basis for their entire search, a question she had asked before that he hadn't answered. She turned to him. "How did you find out about the heart?" He frowned. "I read about it," because everybody finds out about these things by reading. And that's a good lesson. That's a good moral to the story. Read and you'll know everything. That's not true. But reading is really good for you. I swear. We should read more. Everybody should read more. Oro reads about it. Issa's like, "Where?" "In a book." Isla. Come on. Where was he supposed to read it? Caves? Cave drawings? In the sand? In the sky? "Girl, in a book." Isla asks, "What book?" And he says, "An old one I found in a hidden library." "Why don't you have this book on hand? If you're desperately seeking the heart, why is this book not on hand? Why is it not on your nightstand? Why are you not going through it over and over again to try and get more information?" Like, dude, how old are you? You're like 500 years old. That's the one thing that I would do. I have stuff like out, like just in case I might need it, and I never do. I have books that I have like folded it. I have pieces of paper stuck in there like, oh, just in case I have to go to this page. I never do, but I still have it. And I'm not doing something as important as trying to save populations of people. So he says he found the book about where he learned about the heart. He found it in a hidden library. The world went quiet. All of Isla's senses began to fade. Hidden library, just like Celeste said. I don't even know if I said this in the beginning. I don't remember. But Celeste, supposedly the bond breaker, exists within a hidden library somewhere. Now, there could be a lot of hidden libraries. A lot. They immediately, does each realm have only one library? Really? How big are they? Wait a minute. A hidden library? Wait, what? So like, they were going to public libraries thinking that they would find the bond breaker when it's supposed to be a hidden library? I don't know anymore. So Oro shows Isla to a tower, which is his hidden library that has all these books and all these ancient languages. She doesn't understand what is in the books because she doesn't know the languages, and so she asks Oro to search for anything about the heart. Honestly, okay, I did write in my notes he likely has already done that, but considering that he doesn't have the book on hand anyway where he learned about the heart, I'm thinking maybe he didn't, but he should have. He is, again, 500 years old. How long has he been king? I don't even know. But he never thought to go through the entire library to find out information on the heart that he has been seeking to break the curses. This is not like just like finding out information on how to build like an irrigation system. This is like life or death, literally. He agreed, but instead of looking down at the page, he looked at her. Before I do, there's something you should know, wildling. He was serious, no amusement or meanness in his expression. Her stomach sank on instinct, ready to be disappointed. I would have informed you at the beginning, but after what Grimm told you, ... I was waiting for him to reveal the information himself. She swallowed. Tell her what? What could be so important? I'm guessing he never did. Isla just stared at him, waiting. My ancestor, Horace Ray and Grimm's, Cronin Malvere, created the island. She nodded. She knew that. And so did yours. She blinked. No, that wasn't true. Isla placed a hand against the table just to feel something steady. Wildlings weren't even really accepted on the island anymore. ... They didn't help create it. That doesn't make any sense. Lark Crown. She made the land we stand upon. The island was named after her. Lark Crown. She didn't know that name. Lark Crown isn't like a secret hidden creator of the island. She just was forgotten, I guess. That's why you needed me, she said, her voice very tight. Isla, to find the heart. It can only be found and unlocked by one of us. Sunling, Wildling, or Nightshade. I assumed ... with both of us ... only joined can the curses be undone. He was simply following the prophecy. An inexplicable part of her shriveled inside. All Oro's words had edges, and they cut into her mind. Oro had confirmed weeks before that he believed the original offense was someone using the heart of Lightlark to cast the curses. He now claimed only a Sunling, Wildling, or Nightshade could access the heart's powers, which meant one of their realms had spun them, not Cleo. That didn't make any sense. Of course it makes sense. Her constantly thinking that Cleo is the evil mastermind behind everything is what doesn't make sense. Cleo is just a bitch. She's just a bitch. There's tons of bitches all around the world. I know, because I work for basically a call center. A lot of people are fucking rude, okay? There's no really real reason. Why would these people even spin the curses? Why would anyone spin the curses? Because everybody's cursed. Like, everybody in the realm is cursed. Like, nobody... Doesn't the prophecy say that the curses happened because of a betrayal or something? No. The original offense. According to the prophecy, there wasn't like necessarily one person responsible for creating the curses. I mean, I don't think I'm dumb at all, but like when it comes to like riddles and stuff like that, I check out. If I'm able to kind of just like think these things of like where guys, maybe it's not one person that did it. Maybe, you know, there was an offense. We have to figure out what the original offense was. Maybe we should like read about the history of Lightlark and all that stuff. Isla and Oro go through many books in the library. They come up with nothing. Isla is still convinced that finding the key to the heart, the information is somewhere within the library. Isla goes back to Celeste's floating corpse, and she reaches out to touch Celeste's hand, and out of Celeste's hand, a ring falls. And at some point, I guess I skipped over it, but at some point, Isla had given Azul a ring, but that ring falls out of Celeste's hand. Isla is shocked, to say the least. With this tiny little bit of evidence, with not a lot to back it up, she is convinced that the only black character is responsible for Celeste being enchanted and cursed. And also, I thought nightshades were the only people that could curse people. So basically there's other magic in this world, like outside of just the powers that each realm has, there's also like individual magic that I guess anyone can perform. Nightshades have the power to curse people, but I guess other people can enchant and curse other people as well. Issa goes to the place of mirrors and she summons Grimm using her necklace. And she asks him why he didn't tell her about Lark Crown, and his answer is basically, it's good to find things on your own, and I mean, I was gonna basically tell you anyway. But they make out and I'm pretty sure he fingers her. The really interesting thing about Alex Aster's sex scenes is that she hints at sex without writing it, which that is perfectly fine. She does it in Lightlark and she also does it in Nightbane. Authors and other forms of media hint at sex all the time. If you've ever seen North by Northwest, the movie with Cary Grant and I forget her name, Eve Saint something, But there's a scene at the end of the movie where the two characters, they finally get together at the end, and the train that they're on, she gets onto the bed, I think, and then Cary Grant joins her. And then obviously this is like the 1950s, so they're not going to show that, but it's also just good, clever imagery. The train goes through the train tunnel, which is symbolism of penetration. So it's like, you get it. So it's like they're about to have sex, or they are doing it currently. But you know, that's hinting at it. There's this Stephen King's On Writing. I had to read it for AP Literature or something, I think. And it was a great book. I have no idea. I had it. Like, I owned the book and I don't know what I did with it, but I want it again. But it has really, really, really awesome writing advice in it. And Stephen King, there's like a chapter where I don't know if the whole chapter was about sex. I think it was just about symbolism or something, but he was talking about how there's so many ways that you can symbolize sex, putting a key in a door lock, whatever. So you can definitely use symbolism, metaphors, so that's fine. Obviously, you don't have to, like, if you're gonna write sex, like, you don't have to write if that's not your goal, you don't have to be super, super explicit with it. If you're not using that method, then I think you can also use kind of like poetic language. With Alex Aster, when things start to get hot and heavy, it doesn't like kind of switch to something else. There's no like symbolism or anything. It's just like, he touched her there, she wanted him there. It'll be like, there, okay, you're saying there, but it's obviously her vagina. Like, I know the characters they're all of age, so it's fine. It would be fine to have them participate in that. They're adults and they're also like rulers of like these countries. The book is supposed to be, I guess, marketed to young adult readers, and so obviously you have to be careful about how explicit you're making those books, because the audience is young typically. Even though Isla and Grimm did not go all the way, something did happen, obviously. They also spend some time together in the place of mirrors, just holding each other and watching the rain. It sounds real romantic, honestly. When they do finally separate, Isla asks Grimm to bring Azul to her. We're nowhere near finding the heart. According to Oro, this is where we are in the process. We know the heart is on Moon Isle. We know it contains immeasurable power from Wildling, Sunling, and Nightshade. We know it was used to spin the curses. We know it blooms regularly when it is needed in different places where darkness meets light. So Issa starts thinking and wonders about where darkness meets light and what kind of color that would make. And she shoots up from the table, and Oral's like, what? And she's like, maybe. And honestly, again, I'm not like a riddle girly, but I feel like this would have been one of the first things I would have thought of. She's like, maybe it's not a place. Maybe it's a time. Oro considered this, eyes narrowing. Remlar said it would be where darkness meets light. That must be the winged man's name, Isla thought. What if it's both? What if it's in a place where darkness meets light but only appears during dawn or dusk? Oro blinked away, fatigue like clearing cobwebs, thinking. He was so focused, Isla could almost see his mind working behind his eyes, spinning possibilities. He gazed at the table, hands splayed on its top. He shook his head. I searched the island for decades and never found it. ... Perhaps this is why. The cursed Sunling King couldn't be out at dusk or dawn, both times too close to sunlight. They had always searched for the heart at night, long after the sun had disappeared. It would explain why the heart hadn't been in any of the places they had checked. Maybe it had, but had been hidden. He looked up at her. Isla, I think he might be right. Isla thinks then that the suspected bird was trying to actually tell her something. I don't really know why. I don't know how she has come to this conclusion. I reread the scene. I wrote this in my notes. I reread the scene over and over, and I don't know why she went from thinking that the bird was a spy for Cleo to suddenly it was trying to show her something, but that's what she thinks. Isla, at least, I guess, because the bird consistently follows her when she gets to Moon Isle, so I guess that's why. But again, I don't know how she would go from it's a spy to maybe it's trying to help me. So they're on their way to thinking that they're about to break the curses, and Isla and Oro are just talking about what they'll do after. Oro plans to rebuild, and Isla has plans for her future. She starts thinking that, maybe she can settle down with Grimm, but they're on Moon Isle. now, and Isla reveals that she suspects that Azul is the one who cursed or enchanted, whatever word you want to use, because I don't know, because it's an enchantment, I guess, but it also seems like it's more like a curse. She tells Oro that she suspects Azul, and Oro doesn't understand why she would think that, because Azul, by all accounts, the way he's presented is he seems pretty peaceful, pretty fair, very kind, and Oro doesn't understand why Isla would think that he would do something like that. And Isla doesn't understand why Oro denies Azul's guilt. She thinks that her accusing Azul, just her accusation alone, is enough to incriminate Azul. Girl. So she's about to voice her objection to Oro denying that Azul had anything to do with it, because again, like, what evidence do you have? Sure, a ring came out, but I mean, it's just like, you need more evidence, girly. But so the bird shows up and Isla and Oro follow it. Ice mountains came into view. The oracles were not far, where darkness meets light. She remembered what the oracles had said, that the heart wasn't in her ice, but was nearer than you know. The trees grew farther apart here, with more room for snow to pile. A river snaked through them, the sound of the water splitting and then refreezing again, like the tiny cracks of firewood splintering. Another screeched through the night. She found the bird as it dipped down and flew up into a tree, into a nest. Here, Isla said. She knew the heart was there somewhere. All they had to do was wait until dawn. So they sit and wait in a cave. Oro starts seizing because he's dying, remember? So he just starts doing that sometimes. Oro asks Isla to sing for him, and she does, but then she stops because the sky is starting to darken and the moon begins to fade. The sky begins to darken. Dawn? The sky begins to darken. If they're waiting for dawn, wouldn't it begin to lighten? Did I write that wrong? Anyway, in the rising light, Isla noticed something. She squinted. Right below the nest, something was floating in the air, untethered to gravity. Is that an egg? She asked. Just as the words left her mouth, the egg fell. Slowly. Too slowly, it plunged to the ground and cracked open. From its shell emerged a shining gold yolk. It rose from the ground in tandem with the sun rising from the horizon just across the cliff. The full egg represented the moon, she said, her voice hoarse from singing. The yolk, ... is the sun. How many times had she thought the full moon looked like an egg, that the sun looked yolky? She turned to Oro, eyes wide. That's it, she said, that's the heart. The heart is hidden until it blooms and becomes a part of Lightlark. Oro had presumed it was a plant, but this time the heart had returned to the very basis of life. An egg. Oro gets excited. Isla gets excited. She runs for the heart and bam, she gets hit by an arrow. Damn. So she thinks that it's the Vinderland back for revenge, and she thinks she's dying. She does die, actually. She has the yolk, though. The golden yolk, and I guess it revived her. Isla wakes up to Grim, and she's in her room, and Grim tells Isla that Celeste is awake, so Isla goes and runs to her friend who is in her room, and Celeste is also under the impression that Azul is the one who enchanted her, but I guess it was also poison. I guess it was poisoned. I don't know. So Isla goes back to her room and Grim is gone, but Oro shows up and tells her to bathe, get dressed, and meet him in the library. The heart has been found. They're going through the prophecy again where it says that a realm must die to break a curse. The ruler must die, hence, then the whole realm dies. They're debating who should die. Apparently Azul's people, so the Skylings, they are democracy, so they actually took a vote and decided that they would sacrifice themselves, or that Azul would sacrifice himself, which would mean then that the Skylings they're sacrificing themselves as well. And so that's what Isla overheard them talking about when Azul was like, somebody has to die, like a realm has to die. Why did I say it like that? Die. He was offering himself, and Oro was trying to dissuade him. I think I used that word right. It's not persuade, I think it's dissuade. But he tried to get him off that idea. Isla took that conversation and was thinking the whole time that Azul was trying to send somebody else to death. Instead, he was offering himself up. So he is a good guy, bitch. Also, it's still not a good idea because they're going based off of an idea that maybe maybe if somebody dies, I mean, I know that's what the prophecy says. We've got this heart thing that we think could maybe undo the curses. So, I mean, we don't really know. I mean, we really don't know like what's going to break the curses. So if you have a ruler die and condemn his whole entire people to death, if the curses aren't broken, then you're like, whoops, guess they're gone. You need to be sure. You need to be like real sure. Oro is set on Nightshade needs to go. And to me, personally, I find this a little suspicious. I'm speculating, honestly, that Oro is not really, I feel like there's more to him. He is very quick on offering up Nightshade. I wonder why it's so easy for him to make that decision. I mean, he doesn't like Grimm, but him not liking Grimm is not a good reason to also kill a whole bunch of other people. Isla doesn't want Grimm to die, obviously, because she likes him. She gets pissed that Oro would even suggest that Grimm should die because she likes him, and so she threatens Oro, but of course she can't kill him though, because if she kills him, then everybody else on Lightlark, Lightlark would cease to exist, I guess, I don't know, or crumble, and so that's killing like a whole bunch of people. That's not just killing, honestly though. I mean, yeah, there's other people who are sunlings, starlings, moonlings on Lightlark, like the island itself, but if Oro is connected to every realm, if you kill him, do all the realms die? Then he shouldn't be participating in the Centennial anyway. But the curses only affect his sunling side. Anyway, so Isla leaves because she can't go through with killing Oro, and she goes to Celeste, and she tells Celeste to go to Oro's library because she's convinced that the bond breaker is in there. She's like, I'll just distract him somehow, like I'll get Oro out and you can get the bond breaker. Honestly, I thought finding the bond breaker would be like a bigger deal. Like I thought it was going to be in that vault in the place of mirrors. It was not. Isla does ask Celeste if she would be willing to share the cost of using the bond breaker with Grimm. So Isla goes to Grimm and she tells him about her plan. It is currently nighttime, but she asks if he trusts her, and he doesn't really say yes or no. He just puts a hand over her heart and says that doesn't only belong to you. Or is he talking about her titty? Heart or titty? I want to know. They both take a chance because with Isla's plan, she doesn't really know if it's going to work either, but they get to the place of mirrors, and with the place of mirrors, I don't know if I said this either. I hope I did. But just to reiterate, if I did not, well, if I did, I'm reiterating. If I did not, I'm mentioning it now. So you're welcome. But in the place of mirrors, other people's powers don't work except for wildling powers. So because the curses, like the curses don't work if you don't have powers. So it's nighttime, but Grimm is able to be outside at night because once he gets to the place of mirrors, because he can teleport them, once they get there, he's fine. He won't die. He won't shrivel up. But once they get there, Grimm decides to drop a bombshell. Okay. He tells Isla, I don't know why he chose this moment to tell her, but so he tells her that the wet dreams that she's been having, they're memories. Him standing before her in full armor, her legs wrapped around him, his lips on her neck, on her collarbones, on the sides of her knees. The dreams she'd had for weeks, the ones that had made it hard to look Grimm in the eye. What are you talking about? He shook his head, reached for her, then recoiled when she flinched. You appeared in my castle 1 year ago, and you returned, ... several times, using your nightshade relic. Isla was drowning. She was sure of it. The ground shifted below her feet. She gripped a decayed branch for balance. I've never been to Nightshade Land, she said, shaking her head, backing away another step. Grimm swallowed. You have. You just don't remember. I had to take away your memories, all the ones with me in them. She was panting, like he had offered to do with Juniper. A memory raced to the surface of her mind, the second thing that had come out of her mouth when she had first stepped foot on the island 90 days prior. Have we met before? Grimm had touched her shoulder afterward, and she had forgotten all about it. At the sight of him, something must have peeked through the veil he had put on her memories, and he had snuffed it out with that touch. Isla blinked too quickly. Nothing made sense. Though it was the least important thing he had said, her head was full of cotton, and all she could focus on was, my star stick is a starling relic. Grimm's eyes were sad. He looked like he was falling apart and trying very hard not to show it. No, it isn't, he said. It's Nightshade. He frowned when she shook her head again. Who do you think its power came from? She wasn't breathing. Grimm's flare was the power to portal anywhere he wanted to go, the same power as her star stick. No, she said, I've never been to Nightshade Lands, she repeated, her mind spinning, voice breaking. She hadn't dared, not after Tara's warnings. Grimm's voice was gentle. Heart, he said steadily, because he calls her Heart Eater, and then he calls her Heart. I don't know if I mentioned that either. Where do you think you were before you portaled back to your room for the Centennial? I don't know if you remember. It's been a long, long journey. In the beginning of the first chapter, at the very beginning of the book, Isla was tumbling through a portal of stars. So, before that, like right before that, and I know this because I also read Bane, she was with Grimm literally right before honestly, that if I was like super into this book, that would have gagged me. Before the beginning of the book, before the first chapter, she was with Grimm. Like they had just been together. Like they were just together. Isla takes off running. She takes off. Grimm for some reason takes like a bit to go after her, but he does start going after her, and the wildling, he has no powers in the Place of Mirrors and on Wild Isle, I think it's what it's called. So he's not able to use his overpowered powers to catch her, or to catch up to her, basically. But the wildling realm, even though Isla is powerless, it responds to her, and it kind of acts like the nature and the foliage. It's sort of protecting her and preventing Grimm from catching up to her. So she gets to the Place of Mirrors, and Celeste is there magically with the bond breaker, which is basically like a really big needle, like a really big sewing needle, except it has points on both ends. Grimm gets to the Place of Mirrors as soon as Isla and Celeste are using the bond breaker, and he's like, no, wait. He tries to stop them, but it's too late. They've already used the bond breaker. Isla is weakened, but Celeste has grown stronger. Or is she Celeste? Celeste's eyes darken and she starts smiling wickedly. Grimm tries to pull Isla away. He gets bound in vines. And at that moment, Oro comes and he tries to help Isla as well, but he is also bound. And this is by roots this time, as we know. No other power other than wildling power is able to be used on Wild Isle and in the place, I almost said palace, in the place, I really want to say Palace of Mirrors, but it's the Place of Mirrors. No other power is able to be used. So, what does that mean? Celeste has wildling power, but where did she get it from? She used the bond breaker, but it's not really a bond breaker. It transfers power from one person to another. So if Celeste has wildling power, what does that mean? Isla is not powerless. Yeah, so it allows people to transfer power. Here's the kicker. It's a lot to keep up with, so I don't know if you remember this either. But on Lightlark, when you fall in love with somebody, you're able to share their power. Who has she spent most of the book with? Now, I've heard a lot of people say that they didn't really catch on to this, and they thought that the king was old this whole entire time, King Oro. But I mean, like, I got it. Like, I understood where the author was going with it, especially when she started talking about how hot he was. Oro has fallen in love with Isla. And so that means that because on Lightlark, we have this kind of thing where you can share power with people if you have fallen in love, and this bond breaker, the bond breaker actually transfers power from one person to another. Because Oro loves Isla, that means that Celeste now has access to all the powers in Lightlark, except actually she's not Celeste, and instead she is Aurora, the person that Oro's brother Egan was supposed to marry, and then they ended up not marrying. So here's what happened between the two of them, between Egan and Aurora. Every word seemed to pain him, but Oro said, my brother was supposed to marry Aurora. Blood dripped from the corner of his mouth, but he fell in love with someone else, with her best friend. What? With your ancestor. Isla's ancestor. Her name was Violet, and Isla knows nothing about this person, definitely doesn't know about the fact that she got in the middle of Egan and Aurora. Aurora laughed without humor. It had all happened centuries ago, but the pain was raw on her face. They meant to marry with a ring already on my finger. I was so angry, ... I used my shape-shifting flare to change into a beautiful wildling and convinced this fool, she looked pointedly at Grimm, he would have me that night if he gave me the most beautiful flower on the island, one I knew had bloomed on the remnants of Night Isle just weeks prior. The heart of Lightlark, something Egan had told me about as children. I had tracked it, intending for it to be a wedding gift. gift. Instead, Grimm unknowingly unlocked the heart for me to use. The job was rushed. Since I had not found it myself, I could not wield it effectively. I cursed all the realms without really meaning to. Even my own. Only I, as the curse's creator, was left unmarred. Then I panicked. With all the rulers except for me dead, I would be the prime suspect. So I faked my death with the Nightshade illusion using the heart. You saw me die, but the person who truly perished was my heir, my foolish sister. I took on her identity, her face. Then when I found the starling Newland, I forbade attendance in the castle, led from afar. Keeping secrets is easy in a realm where everyone dies at 25. I became a new starling ruler every centennial, all the while biding my time, planning, waiting. For what? Isla demanded. Tears streaked down her face. This couldn't be real. She still refused to believe it. For the right moment to take everything I had been denied. Only this time I wished to rule all 6 realms. Gaining access to all of Lightlark's powers proved difficult. She sneered at Oro. Even with a new face, new personality, every centennial, you always rejected my advances. An untrusting king indeed. Egan had told me about the bond maker. I began searching for it every centennial, but even if I was able to trick you, king, into using it with me, I would receive just 4 of the 6 abilities. A ruler can only use the bond maker to gain ability 1. What? I would receive just 4 of the 6 abilities. Hold on. I thought Oro had all of them. Oh, wait. Hold on. Okay, I was wrong this whole entire time. Oro doesn't have powers from all the realms, so he doesn't have Nightshade power. Oro has Starling power, Moonling, and Skyling because they stayed on Lightlark when the other realms left Lightlark. So where do the other 2 come from? Wildling and Nightshade. I needed a way to get all 6 powers in one go. Celeste, who is actually Aurora, tells Isla that this is where Isla factored into the plan, and Grimm is like, don't you dare, bitch, don't do it, but she does it. Years ago, one of Grimm's powerful curious generals stole one of his relics and used it to visit the wildling Newland. There he met a beautiful wildling, and though forbidden in every way, would you believe they fell in love? The Nightshade general was powerful, ... so powerful he thought he could subdue the wildling's curse, ... keep it at bay. And he did. She smiled at Isla long enough for them to have you. Isla shook with rage. No, Aura only has 4 of the powers in this world. It's not called Lightlark. Lightlark is the island, so I don't really know what this world is called. But anyway, so 4. Isla is half wildling and half Nightshade. So this is how she factored into Aurora's plan, because if she could get Isla to fall in love with Oro, then that's access to all 6 powers at once, because again, with the falling in love, they can share power, so that's six powers. Do you remember who told Isla to try and make Oro fall in love with her? Yep, it was Tara and Poppy. Isla's like, no, I don't have any powers though. Like, I mean, yeah, but I don't have powers. I mean, she said it definitely a lot more dramatic than I'm saying it. She's upset. She's really upset. Aurora laughed. Quite the contrary, little bird. You're very powerful. Your wildling abilities have simply been cloaked by your Nightshade powers, made invisible, unusable unless a skilled Nightshade should untangle them. Manifestations of power are so strange, aren't they? Isla has had power this whole entire time. It's just her Nightshade abilities were, because, you know, I guess Nightshades can make things invisible, so it was making her wildling powers invisible. Aurora says, then something I hadn't anticipated happened. I didn't know you had been visiting other rulers. 2, you apparently mentioned something suspicious about me to Grimm, and the very next day he appeared in my room. Aurora turned to face Grimm, and that was when he became my accomplice. I don't know. I guess Isla mentioning something about something being suspicious about Celeste / Aurora would have come about prior to the events of this whole entire book, so I don't know what she found suspicious, but apparently she did. I don't know why that would cause Grimm to then ally with Celeste / Aurora, but they allied. Isla now knows this, and you know, she's been falling in love with Grimm again, because remember, they knew each other before all of this, and Isla's like, oh my god, and Grimm is like, dang, I'm in trouble. A person's emotions have colors, apparently. Celeste's had the same shade as mine. He figured out my identity right away and was about to slay me, knowing that my survival meant I had spun the curses. But before he could, I told him that the only reason I kept returning to the Centennial with a new face was because I could not rest until Egan's familial line was destroyed for good. I presented him with a plan that would kill the king without dooming everyone on the island, break the curses, and give him control of Lightlark. Oh, that's why he allied with Celeste/Aurora. Okay, Heart Eater, Grimm said, trying to get her attention, but she couldn't even look at him. He growled, tearing against his binds, but it was useless. She told me the original offense was a Sunling ruler falling in love with a Wildling ruler, Egan loving Violet. His breathing was labored. To break the curses and fulfill the prophecy, the original offense had to be repeated again. You had to make Oro fall in love with you, but we were already in love. You would have refused. So I had to take the memories of us together away. I'd have been pissed. I would have been real mad. Like, oh, you can think of another way. I mean, we can work together. I'll pimp myself out. For the sake of the world? Yeah. Like, just why couldn't they have come to this conclusion together? That would have been a really interesting plot line if these two, Grimm and, Isla, were pretending to not know each other, but they had this plan the entire time. That would have been really interesting. So Grimm's voice turns resolute. Like, he's like, I was gonna give them back. Once Oro loved you and you remembered you loved me, we could take all of Lightlark's powers and rule together. So Aurora is going to kill Isla, and Isla escapes using her star stick, which duh, why did nobody take that from her? Isla goes back to her room in Wildling and confronts her. You know what? I'm just realizing, why didn't Celeste/Aurora be like, the star stick is a secret starling relic, and if you use it too many times you'll die, give it to me? But it's like she just uses it to, I mean, it's very easy to escape using the star stick. But anyway, so Isla goes back to her Wildling room to confront Tara and Poppy. They were pushing hard for Isla to make Oro fall in love with her, and they do confirm that they were a part of Aurora's plot, and not only that, but they also were the ones who killed Isla's parents. Poppy looked pale. We did it for you. The Starling ruler gave us a chance. Kill your mother and her lover so that their power would be transferred to you in time for the next centennial and raise you to be able to seduce the king one day, or she would kill the entire Wildling line and end our realm. She demanded we convince you that you weren't born with ability, so that you wouldn't ever try to use it. She said it was dangerous, the mix of power, that it could kill you. After all of this, Isla goes back to the Place of Mirrors to confront Aurora/Celeste/Aurora, whatever, and the two tussle. So as they're fighting, Isla is at a disadvantage. She really is truly powerless at this point, but she realizes that the egg, the heart, saved her life, and I guess it left a mark on her, and so she calls the heart to her, and she's able to use her Wildling power, like that scene in Sky High. So the bond breaker clatters at Isla's feet, and she uses it to stab, boom, Aurora. So the island starts to splinter. Aurora's body falls. She's dead, I guess. We didn't see the body. I need to see a body. You know what I mean? Because I need confirmation that she's dead. But anyway, so apparently Aurora dies. She falls. It's kind of anticlimactic, and Isla falls as well, but she's caught by a vine, but she didn't do it. Oro did it. And when she gets pulled up, she looks at Grimm, and Grimm looks to be like really upset and in agony, and she deduces that Grimm was also trying to, because remember, love on Lightlark, they can use each other's power. So she deduces that Grimm was trying to use her Wildling power to save her, and he wasn't able to because she's not in love with him anymore, and that makes him upset. But then it makes him sad, but then it turns into anger, which I do love. I'm not going to lie. I'm actually kind of invested. It's probably, I don't know why, I think I just love when men have to grovel. I love that Grimm is so just absolutely heartbroken. But yeah, so Oro saves Isla using her power because he loves her, and Grimm is not able to do it. I honestly I guess we're also saying that it has to be a mutual love. So we're saying that Isla also loves Oro. But so Grimm obviously loves Isla. So shouldn't he be able to use her power? But she doesn't love him. So I guess maybe it has to be a mutual feeling. But then, the whole plan was that Isla was supposed to seduce the king. So he was supposed to fall in love with her, and then she would be able to use his power. But like, we were under the pretense that obviously she wouldn't be in love with him because she was supposed to be like seducing him. She was supposed to be tricking him. So I guess it's not mutual. It's not mutual. So then in that case, Grimm should have been able to use Isla's power because he's still in love with her. So then what we can say is that Oro has been closed off this whole entire time to people because he didn't want people to use his power because of the way that love works on Lightlark. However, so anybody could have fallen in love with him, a one-sided love, and they could have had access to his power. Anyway, so Grimm disappears to go sulk in his castle, I guess. Isla is depressed, of course. She's been betrayed by like a whole lot of people, and Oro comes to kind of pull her out of her stupor. The curses are broken. Oro isn't dying anymore, and Isla now has Starling power on top of her Wildling and Nightshade power because of the bond breaker. So the book ends with Isla at the vault in Wildling Isle, where I honestly thought the bond breaker was. I really thought it was behind there. Like, this kind of like, it's this very heavily guarded place, but it's not. They wasn't there. There's something else behind the vault. And the book ends with her trying to open it. So I will be dead honest. Because I'm not a liar. I'm not gonna lie to look good or look better for whatever reason. I don't care. I don't mind Grimm as a character. I really don't. I actually kind of like him. The whole Shadow Daddy thing, there's a million versions of him. They're all basically variants of Rhysand, but I don't dislike Grimm. I think that his motivations are interesting. I was trying to do Lightlark and then Nightbane like right after each other, but I don't think that's gonna happen. I really don't. I have another video for another book that I did and am doing, so that will probably come out first, and then I'll talk about Nightbane, and then hopefully I'll have an August wrap up. Because I mean, have I finished any books? I'm pretty sure I have. Yeah, I've started books. I think I finished at least one this August. Well, that's it. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Goodbye.